Chapter 530. Ji Fubao quickly said, "It's okay, it's okay." Tian Buoguang said that he didn't have breakfast in the morning. He was a little hungry and drooling. Yes, I'm hungry. I didn't have breakfast." Tian Buoguang hurriedly nodded, but he burped a few times as he spoke. It was Ji Fubao's treat for breakfast. He ate 3 bowls of wontons and 4 big meat buns in a row. He was so full that he couldn't take it anymore. "You didn't have breakfast? I have 5 meat buns here. They were steamed by my grandma. Take them." It was the simple and kind Su Hui who spoke. She raised her hand and handed the food bag to Tian Buoguang. She said warmly, "Eat it. It's still hot." Tian Buoguang immediately felt like vomiting when he saw the buns. His stomach was already full, so how could he eat them? Ji Fubao said with a smirk, "Hurry up. The buns are delicious when they are hot." Su Hui said, "Yes, you're welcome." Tian Buoguang had no choice but to pick up a bun, take a bite and swallow it with difficulty. He almost burst into tears. He was so full. Fortunately, the life-saving bell rang at this time. He quickly put away the bun. "It's time for class. I'll eat after class." The morning passed, and it was time for lunch. Tian Buoguang was still burping. He swore that he would never eat buns again. Qin Haodong led everyone to the canteen. He was a little worried at first, for fear that someone would jump out to pursue the 4 campus bells around him. Fortunately, it was calm today. The canteen was in order, and there were no pursuers. Li Meiyu kept a close eye on Qin Haodong when it was close to school. It seemed that she was afraid that he would go on a date with Li Jiumei. This sexy and beautiful opponent could bring great pressure to every woman. As soon as the bell rang, Qin Haodong suddenly received a call from Nalin Wuxia. "I'll give you half an hour to come to my office. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." After that, she directly hung up the phone without giving him any time to react. He put away his phone. Although he didn't know what Nalin Wuxia was up to, he still had to go after she said so. It was not easy for him to convince Li Meiyu and the others that he was not going to the back mountain for a date, but to run some errands. Then he left the school gate and drove straight to the crime squad in Dongqing district. When he arrived at the captain's office, he saw Nalin Wuxia sitting there with a heavy face. "I'm here." Qin Haodong sat opposite Nalin Wuxia, looked at her and said, "What's wrong, officer? Who made you unhappy?" Nalin Wuxia said with a sullen face, "What have you been doing these days? Why didn't you come to see me?" "I was busy with school, so I came as soon as you called." Qin Haodong took her hand and said with a smile, "If I'm late, what consequences do I have to bear?" Nalin Wuxia said angrily, "If you're late, I'll have sex with someone else and get you a hat." Isn't this a bit too cruel?" Qin Haodong asked. "What's wrong? Hurry up and tell me." Nalin Wuxia did not speak. She took him directly to the window, looked at her watch, pointed to the door of the crime squad and said, "There's 1 minute left. You'll see it soon." Qin Haodong was curious, but Nalin Wuxia did not say anything, so he could only wait patiently. Just a minute later, a young man with flowers in his hand appeared in front of the crime squad. He somewhat understood and said to Nalin Wuxia, "Is he pursuing you?" Nalin Wuxia sighed and said, "His name is Chu Huayu, the young master of the Chu family in Shanghai. He has been here for 3 days in a row. Every day when I get off work at 5 o'clock, he waits for me here on time. He sends me flowers and invites me to dinner. It's really annoying. You must get rid of him for me today." Qin Haodong's heart was filled with an inexplicable anger. It was really troublesome to have so many girlfriends, especially the most beautiful ones. These pursuers really annoyed him. He had been dealing with this kind of thing for the past few days. "Don't worry, I'll teach this guy a lesson later." He had completely lost his patience and decided to teach this young master of the Chu family a lesson later. "Let's go out together." Nalin Wuxia took Qin Haodong's arm and walked out of the door together. She had repeatedly explained to Chu Huayu that she had a boyfriend in the past few days, but he did not listen no matter what. She had no choice but to call Qin Haodong over. Chu Huayu was wearing a famous brand suit and a famous watch. He was holding a bouquet of red roses, looking elegant and elegant. Seeing Nalin Wuxia coming out, he immediately greeted her. but his expression suddenly changed when he saw Qin Haodong next to her. However, it was only for a short moment. Soon, he recovered his elegant smile, handed the roses over and said, "Wuxia, these are for you." Seeing that this guy completely ignored him, Qin Haodong did not hesitate to grab the roses and throw them into the trash can next to him. He did not hesitate at all. Chu Huayu said angrily, "What are you doing?" Nalan Wuxia said, "Chu Huayu, how many times have I told you that I have a boyfriend? This is my boyfriend Qin Haodong. I hope you won't harass me in the future." Chu Huayu immediately changed to a sincere expression and said, "Wuxia, please don't reject me so cruelly, okay? I dare say that no one in this world loves you more than I do. Believe me, I will give you happiness. I have already made things clear to you. I will not accept you, and I don't want to see you again in the future." After Nalan Wuxia finished speaking, she continued to walk forward with Qin Haodong. Chu Huayu shouted behind them, "Wuxia, I really like you. As long as you are not married, I will pursue you. I will never give up." Nalan Wuxia ignored him and went straight to the parking lot with Qin Haodong. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong said, "Something's wrong." Nalan Wuxia asked in surprise, "What's wrong?" "This guy is the young master of an aristocratic family. I threw away his flowers and was so intimate with you. Shouldn't he be furious and shout for the bodyguards to break my legs? Why isn't this guy angry at all?" He had been waiting for Chu Huayu to make a move. As long as this guy dared to take the initiative to provoke him, he would immediately beat him like a dog. Now that Chu Huayu was being polite, it made it difficult for him to make a move. "I don't care so much. Anyway, as long as the trouble is not resolved, you have to pick me up from work every day." Nalan Wuxia said, "Let's go eat first. There is a new northeastern restaurant not far away. The food is very good. Let's go there today." Qin Haodong started the car and drove forward. Seeing that they had left, Chu Huayu's face immediately became gloomy. He waved behind him, and 5 bodyguards immediately ran over. "Young master, what do you need us to do? Are you going to break his arm or his leg?" The head bodyguard took the initiative to ask. As Chu Huayu's personal bodyguard, he was already familiar with this situation. Seeing that Nalan Wuxia had left with Qin Haodong, he knew that his insidious master would never give up. He would definitely teach that gigolo a lesson. Chu Huayu said, "You can't do that this time. Nalan Wuxia is also the captain of the crime squad. If you go too far, it will easily cause trouble." The head bodyguard said, "Young master, are we just going to let it go?" "Let it go? Of course not. No one can take away the woman that I, Chu Huayu, have taken a fancy to." A sinister smile appeared on Chu Huayu's handsome face and he said, "Go to a sex toy store now, buy these things and then." The head bodyguard nodded repeatedly and said, "Got it, young master. Don't worry, I will do a good job this time. I guarantee that the guy will never be able to lift his head again." After that, he left with the 4 bodyguards behind him. Chu Huayu looked in the direction where Qin Haodong and the others had disappeared, and said with a sinister expression, "Boy, how dare you steal my woman? You are still far from me." As night fell, Qin Haodong and Nalan Wuxia walked out of the door of the restaurant. Soon, he felt that someone was following him, and he couldn't help but smile. This guy's foxtail was finally revealed. If he kept pretending to be a gentleman, it would be really difficult for him to deal with it. It would be much easier this way. After shopping with Nalan Wuxia for a while, he sent her back to the single dormitory of the crime squad and drove out of the city. Shanghai was one of the most prosperous metropolises in Huaxia. Although it was already night, there were still a lot of people on the street. It was inconvenient to do many things, so he directly chose to go out of the city. Behind his car, 2 black Passats were following him, not too far away, and from time to time they would play a crossover. It had to be said that these guys were good at following him. If it weren't for his powerful spirit, ordinary people wouldn't have been able to find him. The head bodyguard and a bearded bodyguard were sitting in the same car. Seeing Qin Haodong go directly out of the city, the bearded bodyguard said, "Boss, what is this guy going to do?" The head bodyguard said, "Who cares? It will be convenient for us to take action when there are fewer people out of the city." Soon Qin Haodong drove out of the urban area of Shanghai and came to a remote field. The bearded bodyguard asked doubtfully, "Boss, what is this guy going to do? He couldn't have discovered us, could he?" The head bodyguard said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if he finds us or not. This guy can't run away even if he wants to. There is no one around here, so it's convenient for us to take action." He had enough confidence that the 5 people on his side had undergone strict training. They were definitely not people that a gigolo could compete with. The other bodyguards also didn't think much of it. They had done this kind of thing many times, but it was the first time they had encountered someone who was so cooperative. He knew that someone was following him, but he still took the initiative to run to a place where even rabbits didn't shit. Wasn't he courting death? If you don't court death, you won't die. This sentence was very reasonable. Qin Haodong chose a hillside and parked the car. Then he got out of the car and stood beside the car, waiting for these people calmly. Soon 2 Passats stopped behind him. 5 people got out of the car. One of them was carrying a big bag, and the other was carrying a camera. This made Qin Haodong quite surprised. What were they doing? Shooting a movie or paparazzi? He looked at them and asked, "What are you doing? Did Chu Huayu ask you to come?" The head bodyguard said jokingly, "You guessed right. Young Master Chu asked us to come. He asked us to shoot a special film for you, and then post it on the internet to make you popular." The bearded bodyguard put the big bag on the ground, opened the zipper, and took out things one by one. There were candles, handcuffs, nurse uniforms, and all kinds of weird things. He said with a sinister smile, "Kid, do you see this? These things were carefully prepared for you. They will be used later." Qin Haodong immediately understood Chu Huayu's intention. This guy was playing dirty. He wanted to shoot some unbearable videos of him, and then post them on the internet, to completely ruin his image in Nalan Wuxia's heart. Chapter 531. The head bodyguard said, "It's a pity that a handsome young man is about to lose his reputation. But you can't blame others. You can only blame yourself for being blind. How dare you provoke the young master of the Chu family in Shanghai? Aren't you courting death?" The bearded bodyguard said, "Ordinary people should have the awareness of ordinary people. You want to steal a woman from the young master of the Chu family. You are tired of living. Forget it. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. I still have to go back to report." The head bodyguard looked at Qin Haodong contemptuously and said, "Are you going to take off all your clothes yourself? Or do you want us to do it for you?" The bearded bodyguard screamed, "I think you'd better do it yourself. It'll be more comfortable that way. Didn't a famous person say that? Since you can't resist, then enjoy it comfortably." Qin Haodong looked at these people and sneered, "If you kneel down now, I can spare you once. If you make me do it, it will be too late." He didn't expect that at this time. The toy boy in front of him still didn't take him seriously. The bodyguard Cho said angrily, "Boy, you are courting death." The bearded bodyguard cried, "Brother, don't talk nonsense with him. I think this boy is itching for a beating. I'll help him relieve the itch first." Then he waved the whip in his hand and lashed at Qin Haodong fiercely. However, as soon as he raised the whip in his hand, he suddenly felt that his hand was light. He didn't know how the whip was in Qin Haodong's hand, but then a sharp pain appeared on his face. Crack, crack, crack. Qin Haodong lashed him to the ground several times in succession. Then he looked at the bearded man who was screaming like a pig and said sarcastically, "What are you screaming for? Didn't you just say that? Since you can't resist, then enjoy it." The head bodyguard's expression changed greatly. He shouted to the remaining 3 bodyguards, "This boy is quite difficult to deal with. Let's go together." After that, the 4 of them swarmed up and surrounded Qin Haodong. But ants were still ants. Moreover, there were only 4 of them. In the blink of an eye, they were all put down to the ground. The head bodyguard was completely dumbfounded, and his face was full of horror. No wonder he dared to lead them here. It turned out that Qin Haodong was a master. Qin Haodong waved the whip in his hand and whipped all of them. Then he said jokingly, "How is it? Does it feel good?" The head bodyguard shouted, "Brother, please spare us. We have no choice. Chu Huayu asked us to come." "You speak as if you are innocent." Qin Haodong looked at them and smiled. He took out 5 black pills from his pocket, pinched open their mouths, and put 1 pill into each of their mouths. Although they knew that this pill was not a good thing, the bodyguards had no right to resist and could only swallow it. The bearded bodyguard said with a bitter face, "Big brother, what did you give us?" Qin Haodong sneered. "Didn't anyone tell you that I'm a doctor? This medicine is called 3 days intestines shattering powder. After taking it for 3 days, your intestines will rupture and your stomach will rot, and you will die a horrible death." None of them uttered a word after listening to him, but it could be seen from their expressions that they obviously did not believe what Qin Haodong said. The head bodyguard thought to himself, "Do you think this is a movie? 3 days intestines shattering powder? Why don't you say it's half a step with a smile?" Qin Haodong saw through their thoughts and smiled playfully. "You don't believe me, right? Then I'll let you feel it now." After that, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The 5 bodyguards immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain in their stomachs. The pain went deep into their bones, as if their intestines had been split open. Ah! The screams of pigs being slaughtered resounded through the night sky. Fortunately, it was empty and there was no one around. Otherwise, they would really think that it was haunted. "Spare us, big brother, spare us. We believe you. Let us go, big brother. We will do anything." The 5 people rolled on the ground in pain and kept begging Qin Haodong for mercy. Qin Haodong snapped his fingers again, and the pain in their stomachs magically disappeared immediately. He looked at his watch and said, "How is it? It feels good, right? It's only been 10 seconds. If you wait for the medicine to take effect 3 days later, you will be in pain for 3 hours, and then you will die." The 5 people lay on the ground, soaked in sweat, and kept panting. Was it only 10 seconds? The pain just now made their hearts tremble when they thought about it. It was as if 10 years had passed. They didn't expect that it would be so short. If they were in pain for 3 hours, it was simply unimaginable. At this time, their intestines were green with regret. They originally thought that it would be a very easy task to complete, but they didn't expect that the other party was such a ruthless character. "Big brother, tell us, what do you want us to do?" The head bodyguard was still a smart man. He knew that Qin Haodong didn't want to kill them. With Qin Haodong's means, he didn't have to go through so much trouble to kill them. Qin Haodong said, "Tell me first, how does Chu Huayu want you to deal with me?" At this time, the head bodyguard naturally didn't dare to hide anything. He told him Chu Huayu's purpose. It was similar to what Qin Haodong had thought. Chu Huayu asked these bodyguards to take off his clothes, then use all kinds of strange methods to make a video and post it on the internet. At that time, even if he still had the face to pursue Nalan Wuxia wouldn't look at him. After that, the head bodyguard quickly explained, "Big brother, this is all Chu Huayu's idea. It has nothing to do with us at all." The other 4 bodyguards also shouted, "That's right, big brother. We all have parents and children to take care of. We followed Chu Huayu to earn some hard-earned money. Please let us go. Seeing that your attitude is not bad, I'll give you a chance." Qin Haodong said, "Go back now and do what I just said on Chu Huayu's body. Then post it on the internet. If I'm satisfied, I'll give you the antidote for the 3 days intestines shattering powder." The 5 bodyguards suddenly looked bitter. Chu Huayu is the young master of the Chu family. We can't afford to offend him. Otherwise, we won't be able to survive in Shanghai in the future. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "If you offend Chu Huayu, you won't be able to survive in Shanghai at most. If I don't give you the antidote for the 3 days intestines shattering powder, you won't be able to survive in the world of the living. You can only report to the underworld." Thinking of what they had just experienced, they shuddered. They didn't want to experience that kind of feeling in their lives. The head bodyguard quickly said, "Big brother, we'll do as you say now. I hope you'll keep your word." Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry. You're just a few insignificant people. I don't need to make things difficult for you. As long as you do as I say, I'll immediately give you the antidote for the 3 days intestines shattering powder. At the same time, I want to remind you that my poison is a secret creation. No hospital can detect it. Don't take any chances. If you don't believe me, you can go and try it." The head bodyguard gritted his teeth and said, Let's go find Chu Huayu now. After that, the 5 people put the whips and other things back into their bags. They turned around and got into the Passat. They drove to the city of Shanghai. Qin Haodong smiled and turned around to get into the car. As Qin Haodong expected, the 5 bodyguards didn't go back to the Chu family directly. Instead, they went to the hospital in the center of Shanghai. They first saw an expert doctor, and then did a full-body blood test. The result was that they were very healthy, and there were no signs of poisoning. The bearded bodyguard said to the head bodyguard, "Big brother, it's really like what that kid said. The hospital can't detect that we were poisoned, let alone detoxify it. What should we do?" The head bodyguard said with a livid face, "What else can we do now? We can only do as he says." Another bodyguard said, "Chu Huayu is the young master of the Chu family. If we offend him, we really won't be able to establish ourselves in Shanghai in the future. We might even go to prison." The head bodyguard said, "Do you want to die? If we can't establish ourselves in Shanghai, at least we can go to other places. If we offend that person, we only have 3 days to live. Everyone get ready. We'll go to other places immediately after we're done." Another bodyguard said hesitantly, "Big brother, is this really okay? Why don't we call the police?" Xiaohu's bodyguard slapped the back of the bodyguard's head and said, "Are you King crazy? You can't even detect a bit of poison now. Why do you call the police? Do you want the police to think we're mentally ill? Everyone stop talking nonsense. If you don't want your intestines to be broken in 3 days, do as Big Brother says." Thinking of the taste of the 3 days intestines breaking powder, they immediately stopped talking. They knew that there was no other way but to carry out Qin Haodong's orders. At this moment, the head bodyguard's cell phone rang. It was Chu Huayu. "You guys, how's it going?" The head bodyguard said, "Young master, we've done it. We're on our way back now." Chu Huayu said with a smile, "Hurry up. I can't wait. I really want to see that kid get wax dripped on him." "Don't worry, young master. We'll be back in 10 minutes. The head bodyguard hung up the phone and rushed to the Chu family's villa with a few people. Chu Huayu sat on a comfortable leather sofa and tasted red wine happily. He kept imagining various scenes of Qin Haodong being put on a nurse's uniform and then whipped and dripping wax. "Kid, you want to steal my woman? Let's see if you still have the face to appear in Shanghai in the future. Even if you're thick-skinned, Nalan Wuxia will think that you're gay. She won't even look at you again." At this point he laughed out loud. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. The head bodyguard said, "Young master, we're back. Come in." After seeing the bodyguards enter the door, Hu Huayu said eagerly, "Show me the video. Is it good? Did you enjoy it?" "Don't worry. Young master will definitely make you satisfied," the young bodyguard said with a wretched face. Then, he turned on the camera and attracted Chu Huayu's attention. Chu Huayu stuck out his head and stretched his neck. He was about to enjoy Qin Haodong's hardcore video when the head bodyguard made a move behind him. He slashed the back of his neck with his palm. Before he realized what was going on, he had already fainted. When Chu Huayu woke up again, he found that he had been tied up and his clothes had been taken off. A drop of hot liquid dripped on his body, causing him to twitch in pain. He turned his head and saw a bodyguard standing next to him, holding a burning candle in his hand. Before he could come back to his senses, the whip in the hand of the head bodyguard next to him had already hit his body. On the opposite side, the bearded bodyguard was carrying a camera to record all of this. "What are you doing? What the F***ck are you doing? Are you all crazy?" Chu Huayu couldn't believe everything in front of him. He originally wanted to inflict something on Qin Haodong, but he didn't expect to enjoy it all. If it weren't for the severe pain coming from his body, he would really think that he was dreaming. The head bodyguard sneered and said, "Young master, you can't blame us. You can only blame yourself for provoking someone you can't afford to provoke." Chapter 532. Chu Huayu was speechless for a while. As the young master of the Chu family, he often said this to others, but now he was using it on himself. However, he had no time to think about who Qin Haodong was. Since these bodyguards had betrayed him, he could only ask for help from others. "Help! Someone come!" He began to shout desperately. The head bodyguard sneered and said, "You don't have to shout. We have already dismissed everyone before we entered the door. It's useless even if you shout yourself hoarse." It turned out that he was right. Chu Huayu shouted for a long time, but there was no movement outside. He couldn't blame others for this. It was all his own fault. He often did some shameful things in his room, so the room's soundproofing was particularly good. There was no one nearby, so no matter how he shouted, his family in the distance could not hear him. Seeing that it was useless to call for help, he said to the head bodyguard and the others, "How much did that kid give you? Tell me a number, and I can double it for you." The head bodyguard shook his head and said, "Young master, it's not about money. Since you can't resist, you should enjoy it." After that, he raised the whip in his hand again and screams sounded. These bodyguards were afraid that Qin Haodong would not be satisfied if they were too light, so they used all the tricks they knew on Chu Huayu one by one. He also wore all kinds of clothes in the big bag, including nurse's uniform, waiter's uniform, and queen's uniform. All kinds of costumes made Chu Huayu want to die. After tossing and turning for half the night, they were very satisfied with their results. They selected some classic works and uploaded them to the internet. Then they tied Chu Huayu up again, gagged him, locked the door and left. The next morning, in the Sun family of Shanghai, the family master Sun Xingtian called the housekeeper over and asked, "I just passed by the Shui's jewelry and saw that the commercial building opposite us suddenly had a Lin's jewelry sign. What's going on? Is our Sun family going to do a jewelry business?" The housekeeper said, "Master, I don't know. The second miss is in charge of that building. Call Chantian over. I'll ask her." "Yes, family master." After the housekeeper finished speaking, she walked toward Sun Chantian's room. In the past few days, Sun Chantian had been living in fear. She had lost the building and could not get it back. She did not dare to tell her family, for fear that her grandfather would find out one day. "That damn Qin Haodong. I really don't know where he came from. I've tried all kinds of methods, but none of them works on him. How can I get my building back?" She was sitting in the room thinking about this problem when the housekeeper pushed the door open and walked in. "Second miss, the patriarch wants to see you." Sun Chantian's heart tightened. She pretended to be calm and said, "Grandpa, why did you call me?" The housekeeper said, "It should have something to do with the building in your hand. The master just passed by and saw the sign of Lin's jewelry. He wants to ask you what's going on." Upon hearing this, Sun Chantian was completely dumbfounded. She had thought that she could hide it for a while. She did not expect Qin Haodong to act so quickly. He had already started to use the building. However, she didn't dare to disobey the old master. She could only bite the bullet and follow the housekeeper to Sun Xingtian anxiously. "Grandpa, you called me?" Sun Xingtian glanced at her and asked, "What's going on with the building in your hand? Isn't it supposed to be a clubhouse according to the plan? Why did it change to a jewelry company? Even if it's a jewelry business, it should be called Sun's Jewelry. Why is it called Lin's Jewelry?" "Grandpa, actually, Sun Chantian stammered for a long time, but did not say anything. As the head of the Sun family, Sun Xingtian was naturally a shrewd person. He immediately saw that something was wrong and asked with a cold face, "What's going on? Tell me the truth." "Grandpa, it's all that Qin kid's fault." Sun Chantian knelt down in front of Sun Xingtian and told him about Qin Haodong snatching the building. Of course, she hid all her faults and described Qin Haodong as an overbearing villain who had forcibly snatched the building from her hands. Sun Xingtian was furious after hearing this. He had never thought that someone in Shanghai would dare to snatch the Sun family's property. Who the hell is that kid? How dare he attack our Sun family? Sun Chantian said while trembling, He is Zhou Xinju's boyfriend, and he is also a martial arts master." She directly pulled the Zhou family in, so that she could cover up some of her incompetence and mistakes. "Zhou Xinju's boyfriend?" Sun Xingtian said coldly. "No one can provoke our Sun family, not even the Zhou family." He said to the housekeeper next to him, "Go and get Mr. Zhang and Mr. Li." Soon, the housekeeper brought over two middle-aged men in their 50s. They were the Sun family's Mr. Zhang, and were both masters of the 5th level of covert power. After entering the door, they saluted Sun Xingtian and said, "Master, why did you call us here? Mr. Li, you've worked hard. Go and catch that Qin kid. If he dares to resist, cripple him." "Yes, master." Mr. Li agreed. He asked Sun Qianqian for Qin Haodong's address and relevant information, then turned around and left. Sun Xingtian said again, "Mr. Zhang, go with Qianqian now. Bring enough people and tear down Lin's jewelry." "Yes, master." Mr. Zhang immediately agreed. As the Sun family's Mr. Zhang, he didn't care who the other party was. He just had to follow Sun Xingtian's orders. Seeing that her grandfather had finally taken action against Qin Haodong, Sun Qianqian was overjoyed. She could finally vent the anger that had been suppressed in her heart for so many days. She hurriedly left the Sun family with Mr. Zhang and rushed to Lin's jewelry. After Qin Haodong got up, he made breakfast for the beauties at home as usual. After breakfast, he took out his mobile phone and saw the headlines on the hot search. His eyes immediately lit up. The title of the news was, "Is the young master of the Chu family straight or gay?" Below the title were various photos of Chu Huayu. There were photos of him in a nurse's uniform, being whipped, being dripped with wax, and all kinds of hardcore stuff. It made people's scalps tingle. Not bad. These guys are quite efficient. Qin Haodong was very satisfied with the efficiency of the 5 bodyguards. He called Nalan Wuxia. It was the weekend. After thinking for a long time, Nalan Wuxia's lazy voice came from the other side. It seemed that she hadn't gotten up yet. "Haodong, why are you calling me so early in the morning?" Qin Haodong said, "I have good news for you. From today on, Chu Huayu will never trouble you again." Hearing this news, Nalan Wuxiao immediately sobered up and said, "You didn't kill him, did you? Murder is against the law." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I didn't kill him, but destroyed his reputation. You will know when you look at today's hot search headlines." "Don't hang up yet. Let me take a look," Nalan Wuxia said as she turned on the laptop next to her. When she saw the hardcore photos of Chu Huayu, she immediately cried out in surprise, "You did this! Aren't you a bit too ruthless?" Qin Haodong said, "I did it and I didn't do it." As he said this, he told her about how Chu Huayu had hired bodyguards to plot against him last night. Finally he said, "I was just giving him a taste of his own medicine. I didn't expect these bodyguards to do such a good job. They took photos like this, and even made it to the headlines." After hearing this, Nalan Wuxia laughed. "Chu Huayu is really ignorant. He dared to provoke you, a devil. However, he can't blame others. It's his own fault for coming up with such a bad idea. He was caught in a trap of his own making." Qin Haodong said, "This is a good thing once and for all. It saves a lot of trouble. I guess that from now on, the young master of the Chu family will be too embarrassed to go out, let alone harass you." The two chatted for a while and hung up the phone. At this time, Saber walked in and said, "Boss, there are 5 people outside. They said they were looking for you." Qin Haodong knew that the bodyguards had come to ask for the antidote. He grabbed a box of hawthorn pills next to him and took out 5 pills. He handed them to Saber and said, "Give them to them. Tell them to take them and leave immediately." In fact, he didn't have the poison of the 3 days intestines shattering powder at all. He just used a little trick with greenwood genuine qi to make those people feel like dying. However, this was a one-time use. Even if they didn't take the medicine, there would be no problem. Saber didn't ask much. He took the 5 hawthorn pills and gave them to the bodyguards. After getting the antidote, the bodyguards thanked him profusely. They immediately swallowed the pills and left Shanghai in a hurry. As soon as they left, another middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s came over. It was Mr. Li of the Sun family. Saber looked at Mr. Li's unfriendly appearance and immediately became vigilant. He asked, "Who are you looking for?" As the Sun family's Mr. Li, an expert at the 5th level of covert power, Mr. Li had always been arrogant. He raised his chin and said arrogantly, "Does Qin Haodong live here? Tell him to tie himself up and come out to see me, so that he won't suffer." Saber frowned and said angrily, "Who are you? Are you looking for trouble?" "I'm Mr. Li of the Sun family in Shanghai. Tell Qin Haodong to come out and die. I think you're looking for death." Saber roared angrily and suddenly punched toward Mr. Li's face. Mr. Li's expression changed. He originally thought that Saber was just an ordinary bodyguard. He didn't expect Saber to be so strong. He quickly dodged the punch, and the two of them fought together. During this time, the 6 people of the Divine Mercenaries had reached the 5th level of covert power with the help of the spirit culturing pill. As the captain, Saber's cultivation was no less than that of Mr. Li. The two of them were fighting for a while. Qin Haodong put down the phone and was about to appreciate those classic photos of Chu Huayu. Lin Momo hurried in from outside and said anxiously, "Haodong, something bad happened." "What's wrong?" Qin Haodong asked. The person in charge of the group just called and said that the renovated headquarters of Lin's group was smashed and our staff was injured. Qin Haodong stood up and said angrily, "Who did it?" Lin Momo said, "It's said that the leader is Sun Qianqian, the second daughter of the Sun family." "This woman is not done yet," Qin Haodong said. "Let's go and have a look." He went out with Lin Momo and happened to see Saber and Mr. Li fighting in front of the door. The two of them had similar cultivation and strength, so it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Qin Haodong said to Sword, who was watching the fight, "Who is this person?" Sword said, "He's looking for trouble. I heard that he's Mr. Li of the Sun family." "The Sun family again. It seems that it's not just Sun Qianqian this time." Qin Haodong's expression was cold as he said to Sword, "What are you waiting for? Let's go together. We're in a hurry." Chapter 533. Yes, boss. Sharp Sword and the others disdained gang fighting, but now they got Qin Haodong's order. They didn't care so much anymore. The 6 of them rushed to Mr. Li together. Mr. Li was poor. It was already very difficult to deal with Saber alone. Now there were 5 more masters at the 5th level of covert power. How could he deal with them? He was hit one after another and screamed. Soon, he was tied up by Saber with a rope. Mr. Li was completely dumbfounded, lying on the ground. With his cultivation at the 5th level of covert power, although he was not the top master in the Sun family, he had a high status and was respected. But when it came to Qin Haodong, a random bodyguard was at the 5th level of covert power. What was going on? He thought it was a very simple task, but he fell into the hands of masters and was beaten like a dog. Who was this young man? What virtue or ability did he have to command so many experts? However, Qin Haodong didn't give him a chance to answer his questions. He directly asked Saber to throw him into the trunk and drove straight to the new headquarters of Lin's group. When they arrived, Sun Qianqian and Mr. Zhang had already left with their people. The newly renovated headquarters of Lin's group was in a state of devastation. It was completely smashed, and there were broken walls and ruins everywhere. Seeing Qin Haodong and Lin Momo, several employees who had been beaten black and blue came over. "Mr. Lin, Mr. Qin, you're here?" Qin Haodong asked again. "Are you sure they are from the Sun family?" The woman in the lead said she is from the Sun family. Her name is Sun Qianqian. An employee took out his mobile phone and said, "Mr. Qin, I secretly recorded this." Qin Haodong glanced at the video on the mobile phone and was sure that it was Sun Qianqian. However, the people around her were not the bald man's bodyguards, but the warriors of the Sun family. Lin Momo's face was gloomy. After coming to Shanghai, she had been busy with the preparation of Lin's group. These were her painstaking efforts. She thought it would open soon, but she didn't expect it to be smashed into ruins in the blink of an eye. "Haodong, what should we do?" "Of course we go to the Sun family to settle accounts. No one can ride on our heads, not even the Sun family." Qin Haodong had already understood that if the Sun family was not completely eliminated, Lin's group could not have a foothold in Shanghai at all. Now it was time for them to establish their power. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Ma Wenjua's number directly. "Bring all the people in the company and follow me to the Sun family to settle the score." "Boss, did the Sun family provoke us?" Realizing that there was going to be a tough battle, Ma Wenjua immediately became excited. "Those bastards from the Sun family. I've long been displeased with them. Now that they dare to provoke you, boss, I must teach them a lesson this time. Just you wait, I'll immediately bring some people over. After that, He hung up the phone and immediately pulled the emergency assembly button of the Daddy Security Company. All the members of the Daddy Security Company were martial artists. With the help of the big strengthening elixir, they were now masters of covert power or above. They moved very quickly. In less than half a minute, all the members of the Daddy Security Company had gathered. Brothers, the boss needs us to do something. It's time for everyone to perform. Keep your spirits up and don't lose face. Otherwise, I'll skin you alive. Yes. 100 people shouted deafeningly at the same time. They were originally injured and retired soldiers. It was Qin Haodong who cured their illnesses and gave them jobs. Some time ago, he gave each of them a settlement allowance of 10 million yuan. Now Qin Haodong was the god in their hearts. No matter what he asked them to do, they would go forward without hesitation. After the mobilization, Ma Wenjue took the lead to get in the car. A line of more than a dozen vans left the Daddy Security Company in a mighty manner. In the western suburbs of Shanghai, there was a super luxurious manor. Not only did it cover an area of hundreds of acres, but it was also surrounded by mountains and rivers. The decoration was luxurious and full of momentum. This was the Sun family, one of the 3 big families in Shanghai. In front of the magnificent manor, 8 bodyguards in well-ironed suits were guarding here. They looked so majestic that ordinary people did not dare to approach. The bodyguards of the Sun family who guarded the gate were usually idle, because no one dared to make trouble here. Today, several people were guarding in front of the gate. Suddenly, more than a dozen cars drove over and stopped in front of the gate of the Sun family's manor. After the cars were parked, Qin Haodong, Ma Wenjue and Lin Momo took the lead to get out of the car. Seeing that someone dared to directly block the gate of the Sun family's manor, the bodyguard captain immediately stepped forward and shouted, "Who are you? Don't you know where you are? How dare you park in front of the Sun family's manor? Hurry up and drive away, or I will smash your car." In the past, no one dared to provoke the Sun family. These bodyguards were used to being arrogant, but this time, it was far beyond everyone's expectations. Before the bodyguard captain finished speaking, Ma Wenjue's big foot had appeared in front of him. He kicked him out and hit the luxurious gate hard. Qin Haodong waved to the members of the Daddy Security Company behind him and said, smash it hard." If the Sun family dared to smash his Lin's group, he would smash the Sun family's manor. After receiving the order, the people of the Daddy Security Company shouted and immediately rushed to the Sun family's manor. The remaining 7 bodyguards were kicked out before they could react. Then, the gate of the manor, which was worth millions of yuan, collapsed and became a pile of scrap iron in the blink of an eye. The people of the Daddy Security Company were all masters of covert power or above. The destructive power of these people together was amazing. Along the way, the extremely luxurious facilities of the Sun family had been turned into a pile of rubble. In the Sun family's manor, in the hall of the master's villa, Sun Qianqian and Mr. Zhang were standing in front of Sun Xingtian. Mr. Zhang said, "Master, I've completed your task. The Lin's group has been completely destroyed." Sun Xingtian nodded with satisfaction and said, "Good job." He turned his head and said to the housekeeper next to him, "Has Mr. Li not come back yet?" The housekeeper said, "Master, there's no news yet, but it should be soon." Sun Xingtian also felt that this should be the case. He had never thought that Mr. Li would fail. It was impossible for a master of the 5th level of covert power to defeat a student at a university. He said with a gloomy expression, "Later, catch that boy surnamed Qin. I want him to see the consequences of offending the Sun family. Even if he is Zhou Xinju's boyfriend, he can't offend the Sun family. Only death awaits him if he offends the dignity of our Sun family." As the master of the Sun family, in his eyes, there was only strength, no right or wrong. Although he knew that Sun Qianqian must have done something shameful in this matter, it was not important, because the Sun family's fist was strong enough. Sun Qianqian also said, "Grandpa, you must teach that boy a good lesson. He has gone too far." "Master, big, something bad has happened." At that moment, a bodyguard stumbled in from outside. Sun Xingtian's face darkened, and he said with dissatisfaction, "What's the matter?" Why are you so flustered? The bodyguard said. Master, someone broke into our Sun family's manor. They smashed everything and beat anyone they saw. Our people couldn't stop them at all. We suffered heavy losses. What did you say? How is that possible? Sun Xingtian jumped up from the armchair. He couldn't believe it was true. The Sun family had dominated Shanghai for so many years, but they had never been attacked. Master, it's true. The leader is a young man, and King Ma is following him. The bodyguard didn't know Qin Haodong, but he knew Ma Wenjue. King Ma, why is he here? Sun Xingtian had heard of this upstart in Shanghai recently, but he didn't take it seriously. He heard that King Ma's cultivation was only a half-step to the Supreme Power Realm. But there were several Supreme Power Realm masters in his family. He said to the housekeeper, "Go and invite the 3 high priests of the Sui Han 3 friends. Immediately gather people. Let's go out and have a look." The housekeeper agreed, and immediately ran out. Qin Haodong rushed into the Sun family with his people, smashing as he walked. Although countless bodyguards rushed out of the Sun family during this period, they couldn't do anything in front of the powerful Daddy Security Company. They couldn't even stop them. Soon, they were beaten to the point of losing their helmets and armor, wailing on the ground. Suddenly, another group of people rushed out from the depths of the manor. The leader was an old man with white hair and beard. It was Sun Xingtian, the master of the Sun family. Behind him, there were 3 middle-aged men in robes. They had extraordinary temperaments, and it was obvious that they were masters. There were many warriors around these 3 people, but their cultivation was not very high. Only a dozen of them could reach the level of covert power. "All of you stop right there," Sun Xingtian shouted, full of power as the master of the family. In the end, he found that the people opposite him didn't take him seriously at all. They beat and smashed whatever they should, without any intention of stopping. The people of Daddy Security Company only had eyes for Qin Haodong, so they wouldn't take his orders seriously. As long as the boss didn't order them to stop, they would keep smashing. Sun Xingtian was so angry that his beard twitched. He shouted to Ma Wenjue, "King Ma, isn't this a bit too much? Hurry up and tell your people to stop." Ma Wenjue said happily, "Old son, you're wrong this time. Daddy Security Company is not mine. This is my boss." As he spoke, he pointed to Qin Haodong, who was standing with his hands behind his back. Sun Xingtian looked at Qin Haodong and shouted, "Boy, who are you? Why did you smash my house? Hurry up and tell your people to stop." "Stop? Why should I stop?" Qin Haodong sneered. "You just smashed my jewelry company, and now I'm smashing your manor. So you're the villain who bullied my granddaughter." Only then did Sun Xingtian know Qin Haodong's identity. He asked, "Why are you here? Where's Mr. Li? Are you talking about him?" Qin Haodong waved his hand behind him and threw Mr. Li, who was tied up like a rice dumpling, over with a long saber. Sun Xingtian's expression changed greatly, and he said angrily, "Qin Haodong, you robbed my granddaughter's building, and now you beat our Mr. Li. Do you think we're easy to bully? I'll give you a chance now. Hurry up and tell your people to stop, or you'll have to bear the consequences." Qin Haodong smiled slightly. "Really? Then I'd like to see what the consequences are." Sun Xingtian waved his hand and said to the servants behind him, "Do it." Yes, the people behind him were not ordinary bodyguards, but the elites of the Sun family. After receiving the order, they swarmed up and fought with the people of Daddy Security Company. Sun Xingtian originally thought that he would definitely win the battle because he was fighting on his home ground, but soon his expression changed. Although the Sun family's servants had the advantage in numbers, their cultivation was much worse than that of the people of Daddy Security Company. All of them were masters of covert power or above, while they only had a dozen covert power masters on their side. The others were all defeated in one move. How could they fight? In less than 3 minutes, Daddy Security Company won an overwhelming victory. The people of the Sun family were beaten to the point that they were rolling on the ground, crawling, and pissing their pants. They were as miserable as they could be. Chapter 534. Stop right now. Sun Xingtian sadly found that he had not shouted the word stop, as many times in his life as he had today. However, he had no choice. If he didn't stop, his servants would be completely crippled by the people from the daddy security company. Qin, hurry up and tell your people to stop. We can talk. Qin Haodong waved his hand and asked the people from the daddy security company to stop first. Then he said, if you want to talk, you can compensate for all the losses of our Lin's jewelry and redecorate the smashed house for me. I will only give you 3 days, not more than 1 day. In your dreams. Sun Xingtian didn't expect Qin Haodong to put forward such a condition. He cried, that building originally belonged to our Sun family. We smashed our own house. Why should we accompany you? Qin Haodong said, you have to be reasonable. My name is clearly written on the property certificate of this building. How can it belong to your Sun family? Sun Xingtian cried, it originally belonged to our Sun family. You snatched it from my granddaughter. Snatched. Your granddaughter is right next to you. Ask her if she dares to say that I snatched this house. Qin Haodong sneered. Your granddaughter paid my medical fees for breast enlargement. She asked someone to send the property certificate to me. How can it be that I snatched it? Looking at Sun Qianqian, whose head was almost touching her 2 big balls, Sun Xingtian knew without asking that Qin Haodong was telling the truth. However, he still said, no matter what you say, you attacked our Sun family today. If you want to solve it, we have our conditions. Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said with great interest, tell me, what are your conditions? Sun Xingtian straightened his back and said domineeringly, first, return our Sun family's building. Second, compensate for our current losses. Third, publicly apologize to our Sun family. Stop. Stop. Stop now. Qin Haodong couldn't stand it anymore. He really didn't know where this old man got his confidence from. He said, old Sun, can you be more shameless? You. Sun Xingtian had lived for more than 70 years, and it was the first time that someone had pointed at his nose and called him shameless. He immediately said angrily, boy, don't think that you're great just because you have a few subordinates. You haven't seen our Sun family's trump card yet. Qin Haodong said, well, show me your trump card. You won't shed a tear until you see your coffin. Don't regret it when the time comes. Sun Xingtian turned around and said respectfully to the 3 people behind him, masters, I'll have to trouble the 3 of you this time. These 3 people were the top masters invited by the Sun family. They were known as the 3 friends of winter in the martial arts world. They were Mr. Song, Mr. Zhu and Mr. Mei. Among them, Mr. Song had the highest cultivation. He had reached the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm. Mr. Zhu and Mr. Mei were both level 1 of the Supreme Power Realm. The combination of 3 grandmasters was not to be underestimated anywhere in Huaxia. It was also because of these 3 people that the Sun family was ranked first among the 3 big families. Mr. Song said, rest assured, Patriarch. Leave these people to us 3 brothers. After he finished speaking, he stepped in front of Qin Haodong and Ma Wenjue with Mr. Zhu and Mr. Mei. Mr. Mei said, young man, I have to say that your people are a little strong, but they are still far from us. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and do what Patriarch Sun said. If you wait for us to take action, it will be too late. Qin Haodong glanced at the 3 people disdainfully and said, you guys are not worthy. You, arrogant. Mr. Mei strode out, pointed at Qin Haodong and shouted, boy, come here and let me teach you how to be a man. I already said that you are not worthy. Qin Haodong turned around and said to Ma Wenjue, you've already broken through to the Supreme Power Realm, but you're still so calm. I'll leave this old guy to you. Practice and consolidate your cultivation. Boss, you can see that. I wanted to give you a surprise. Ma Wenjue originally had the Kailan holy body, so his cultivation speed was far faster than that of ordinary people. With the help of Qin Haodong's elixirs, he broke through the bottleneck of covert power last night and became a level 1 Supreme Power Master. He wanted to find an opportunity to show off to Qin Haodong, but he did not expect that Qin Haodong would see through him at a glance. I don't need it. You'd better give this old guy a surprise. Qin Haodong pointed at Mr. Mei and said, don't worry, boss. I'll definitely beat him up. After Ma Wenjue finished speaking, he strode in front of Mr. Mei. You're a level 1 Supreme Power Master. You're pretending to be mysterious. I'll expose your true colors. In Mr. May's opinion, the conversation between the two was for him. How could such a young man break through to the Supreme Power realm? It would be good if he could reach the level of covert power. Splitting wind palm. Mr. May shouted, and hit Ma Wunjua's chest with his palm. It was the splitting wind palm that he was best at. Good timing. Watch my rice bun fist. I'll stuff you to death. With a loud shout, Ma Wunjua did not dodge. He did not care about Mr. May's palm at all. Instead, he waved his fist and hit Mr. May's chest. Mr. May sneered. In his opinion, Ma Wunjua was courting death. Even if Qin Haodong had just broken through to the level 1 Supreme Power realm, there was still a gap between them. Mr. May had been in this realm for 5 years, and his skills were profound. How could a boy who had just broken through compare to him? Therefore, he did not dodge. On the contrary, he increased the strength of the splitting wind palm from 80% to 120%. A sneer appeared at the corner of Mr. Song's mouth. In his opinion, Ma Wunjua was dead for sure. A young man in his 20s was definitely no match for his junior brother. With two muffled bangs, the two figures suddenly separated. Mr. Song's eyes widened. The scene in the field was far beyond his expectations. Ma Wunjua retreated 4 to 5 steps, after forcefully clashing with the palm just now. Then he steadied himself. He was calm and composed as he cheered loudly. Mr. May, who was originally favored, was like a kite with a broken string. He flew more than 10 meters away, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that his internal organs were injured. How is this possible? Mr. Song could not understand. Mr. May was even more furious. They were both level 1 Supreme Power Masters, and had also fought head-on. Even if he did not gain the upper hand, why was he the one who was injured? Why was Qin Haodong's fist so strong? Why did he have such a cultivation at such a young age? They never dreamed that Ma Wunjua had the Kailan holy body, which was rarely seen in 1,000 years. Not only was his defensive ability strong, but his strength was also far beyond that of ordinary people. Even Qin Haodong rarely fought with him head-on. Old man, come again. Ma Wunjua could not find such a suitable opponent on normal days. Today he had caught Mr. May. How could he let him go so easily? In a flash, he appeared in front of him and punched again. With the previous lesson, Mr. May did not dare to fight head-on again. He used his unique body movement to avoid the punch, and then fought with Qin Haodong. Although Ma Wunjua had a little advantage in the first round, after all, he had just entered the threshold of the Supreme Power realm. He was not very skilled in the use of his strength and experience, so he soon fell into a disadvantage. However, he also had his own advantages. With the super defense and strength of the Kailan holy body, he was inextricably entangled with Mr. May. And as time went by, he became more and more proficient in the use of cultivation methods. Gradually, he began to take the initiative, and Mr. May was slowly overwhelmed. After fighting for more than 10 minutes, Ma Wunjua had completely stabilized his cultivation at the first level of the Supreme Power realm. He had the upper hand in terms of strength, defense, and speed. Mr. May's whole body had been soaked with sweat. He had never seen such a freak. He grew so fast. Was he still a human? Just at the moment when he was slightly distracted, Ma Wunjua's fist had already arrived in front of him. He tried his best to avoid the punch, but he could no longer avoid the kick below. With a bang, Mr. May flew into the air like a sandbag that had been kicked. He began to spit out mouthfuls of blood in midair. Fortunately, Mr. Song caught him in time to prevent him from falling again. Even so, Mr. May's face was as white as paper, and he completely lost the ability to fight again. The Sun family was in awe. Usually, the three friends of winter were like immortals in the eyes of their master. They were masters at the Supreme Power realm, and were almost invincible. However, everything in front of them had subverted their understanding. Qin Haodong had casually sent a young man to beat their Mr. May until he vomited blood. How could they continue fighting? How could the Sun family compete with them? Sun Xingtian's face instantly became ugly. He originally thought that the Sun family was strong enough, and his fists were hard enough to crush Qin Haodong and the others. Now he was defeated and very badly. Qin Haodong, who seemed to be more powerful, had not made a move yet. It was only Ma Wenjue. Let me. After a loud shout, Mr. Zhu jumped into the air and pounced on Ma Wenjue. The three friends of winter were as close as brothers. Seeing that Mr. Mei was injured, he wanted to avenge his junior brother. Mr. Zhu was like a mad tiger constantly attacking. However, his cultivation was only about the same as Mr. Mei's, so how could he be Ma Wenjue's opponent? After only a dozen rounds of fighting, he was sent flying by Ma Wenjue's punch. He fell to the ground and vomited blood. It seemed that his injury was not much lighter than Mr. Mei's. Two of the three masters had been defeated, and the morale of the Sun family had fallen to the lowest point. Ma Wenjue had won 2 games in a row and shouted proudly, "Who else? Boy, you're too arrogant." Mr. Song walked over with a gloomy face. "Old man, are you not convinced? Come here, and I'll beat you until you vomit blood." As soon as Ma Wenjue finished speaking, he was pulled back by Qin Haodong. Mr. Song was a real second-level Supreme Power Master, far more powerful than Mr. Mei and Mr. Zhu. Even though he had the Kailan Holy Body to protect himself, he could only be a sandbag for Mr. Song. After calling Ma Wenjue back, Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo, "I'll leave this old man to you." Lin Momo was now a third-level Supreme Power Master, but she lacked actual combat experience. Mr. Song, who was a second-level Supreme Power Master, was just right for her to practice. Seeing that Qin Haodong had asked a woman to fight with him, Mr. Song said with a cold face, "Boy, are you insulting me? If you have the ability, come over and let's fight." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Old man, I already said that you're not worthy. Beat my woman first." "Boy, since you don't care about your woman's life, don't blame me for being ruthless." The successive injuries of his 2 brothers had ignited the anger in Mr. Song's heart. A touch of shock flashed across his face, and then his whole body flew into the air. His legs turned into a sky full of leg shadows, surrounding Lin Momo's figure. Those who were familiar with Mr. Song knew that his life's cultivation was in his legs. This time, he was really angry. Lin Momo stood quietly in the field, unmoved by everything in front of her. Seeing that Mr. Song's leg shadows were approaching, she also kicked out in an instant. However, compared with Mr. Song's legs, her legs were straight and slender, with too much momentum. On the contrary, they were infinitely beautiful. Will this work? Such a beautiful thigh will definitely be kicked off by Mr. Song. Is Qin Haodong crazy? He didn't take good care of such a beautiful wife, but let her die. Although they were enemies, the people of the Sun family still felt infinite pity for the extremely beautiful Lin Momo. Chapter 535. In front of everyone's eyes, the 2 legs collided. After a loud bang, Mr. Song's body spun like a top and flew into the air, while Lin Momo leisurely retracted her long leg. Her body did not move, and her expression did not change. Obviously, she had gained the upper hand in this hard fight. How is this possible? Mr. Mei, Mr. Zhu, Sun Xingtian, and all the members of the Sun family opened their mouths in surprise. Mr. Song was the well-deserved #1 master of the Sun family, but he actually suffered a loss in a hard fight with this woman. What was going on? Where did this woman come from? How could she be so strong? She seemed to be more powerful than King Ma. Mr. Song was the most shocked. At this time, he was in the air, barely controlling his constantly spinning body. There was a surge of blood in his chest. He never dreamed that he would be the one who suffered a loss in a hard fight. The nightmare had just begun. When his body fell, Lin Momo's palms were already waiting for him. In the air, Mr. Song had no better choice, so he could only choose to fight hard. The 4 palms of the 2 people collided again. After 2 muffled bangs, Mr. Song's body was shaken into the air again. This time, it was embarrassing. No matter how hard he tried, Lin Momo was waiting for him when he fell. The only choice left for him was to fight hard. However, his internal force cultivation was not as good as Lin Momo's. Every time he fought hard, he suffered a loss and was shaken high. In this way, Mr. Song's feet could not land. He could not use his exquisite moves and body movements. He used his actual actions to prove what it meant to be beaten. After fighting hard for a dozen times, He could no longer control himself. He spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. This was the inevitable result after a hard fight between a level 2 Supreme Power Master and a level 3 Supreme Power Master. Don't fight, I admit defeat. In desperation, Mr. Song could only choose to admit defeat in public. Although he was extremely unwilling and aggrieved, he could only choose this way. If he continued to fight, he could not see any hope of recovering, and it was easy for him to be beaten to death. Seeing him admit defeat, Lin Momo did not continue to fight, but returned to Qin Haodong's side. Mr. Song's feet finally stepped on the ground. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stumbled back to the Sun family's team. Qin Haodong looked at Sun Xingtian and said, "Old man Sun, what other trump cards do you have?" "You." Sun Xingtian's eyes were filled with despair. As the head of the Sun family, his style had always been extremely overbearing. He had always been the one to bully others. He had never been the one to be bullied like today. But the current situation was that their Sun family was defeated, and they were completely defeated. From the lowest bodyguard to the high and mighty 3 friends of winter and 3 great consecrators, they were all beaten like dogs. He couldn't be tough even if he wanted to. Qin Haodong said, "Don't talk nonsense. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Now I only give you 2 choices. Either you agree to my conditions, or you destroy your Sun family." Sun Xingtian's face was pale. The Sun family's manor was built by him, and it had been continuously expanded and improved over the years. It was worth more than billions of yuan. More importantly, the Sun family's manor was also their pride. If it was really destroyed by Qin Haodong, how could the Sun family have a foothold in Shanghai? How could they still claim to be one of the top 3 aristocratic families? This was no longer a matter of money, but related to the survival of the Sun family. Thinking of this, his mouth was full of bitterness, but he had no other choice. "Okay, I promise you." It was extremely difficult for Sun Xingtian to say these 6 short words. "That's for the best. It saves me trouble." Qin Haodong said, "Within 3 days, decorate the headquarters of Lin's jewelry. Otherwise, there will be no room for negotiation the next time I come." Sun Qianqian, who had been silent, suddenly shouted, "Qin Haodong, don't go too far. How can such a big building be decorated in 3 days?" Qin Haodong looked at her coldly and said, "I'm going too far. What can you do?" "I." Only then did Sun Qianqian realize that she had no ability to fight back against this young man. Even her grandfather had given in. What could she do? Qin Haodong continued, "When you smashed my house, why didn't you think of going too far? I'll only give you 3 days, not 1 more second. In addition, your Sun family has to compensate us for the loss of 500 million yuan. ***, it's all your fault." At this time, Sun Xingtian vented all his anger on Sun Qianqian. He raised his hand and slapped her twice in a row. Then he shouted to the bodyguard beside him, "Lock her up. Don't let her out without my order." Sun Qianqian was taken away. When Sun Xingtian turned around again, he seemed to have aged a lot. 500 million yuan was nothing to him. Although it was difficult to decorate a building in 3 days, the Sun family could do it with their strength. The most important thing was that he had just sent people to smash someone else's house, and now he had to decorate it himself. This huge sense of humiliation completely shattered his inner pride. However, the young man in front of him was too powerful, so powerful that he could not resist at all. For the Sun family, he could only lower his proud head. "Okay, I promise you." Under the pressure of powerful force, Sun Xingtian finally signed the agreement. "Remember, you only have 1 chance. There won't be a second time." After Qin Haodong said that, he left the Sun family with his people. He was not afraid that Sun Xingtian would go back on his word. This was the embodiment of strength. He believed that after today, the Sun family would not have the guts to go back on their word even if they wanted to. As soon as the people from Daddy Security Company left, Sun Xingtian opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he did not do anything, he could not bear this feeling of grievance. The Sun family, which was once high and mighty, had been trampled under someone's feet. With the help of 2 bodyguards, he staggered back to his room. He waved his hand and asked the two bodyguards to leave, leaving him alone in the room. A moment later, a black figure abruptly appeared in the room. This person was completely wrapped in a black robe, making it impossible to see his appearance clearly. With his back to Sun Xingtian, he said in a hoarse voice, "Why are you not convinced?" "Holy Messenger, of course I'm not convinced to be trampled under the feet of that brat." Sun Xingtian shouted to the man in black, "Holy Messenger, please take revenge for the sake of our Sun family's service all these years and kill that brat surnamed Qin." The man in black's robe shook slightly and said, "You don't have to be unconvinced. I can't help you with this. I just saw that brat. His strength is very, very strong. It can be said that his cultivation is unfathomable. It's very likely that his cultivation is above mine." "What? How is that possible?" Sun Xingtian's face was full of disappointment. This man in black was like a god in his heart. Even he was afraid of Qin Haodong. How could he take revenge? The man in black said, "You don't have to be too discouraged. Do the task assigned by the holy sect well. When the holy sect opens in a few days, I will contact the sect master. The masters in the sect will naturally help you get rid of that brat." Speaking of this, he said in a stern tone, "But during this period of time, you must restrain the people of the Sun family. If you provoke that brat again and delay the holy sect's important matters, your Sun family doesn't need to exist in Shanghai anymore." Sun Xingtian was so scared that he trembled all over and said respectfully, "Sir Divine Envoy, I will remember." 2 hours later, all the core disciples of the Sun family returned to the Sun family's manor and held a family meeting. Most of these people had their own family affairs to take care of and did not live in the manor. When they returned home and saw the dilapidated Sun family's manor, they were filled with righteous indignation. They clamored to take revenge and wash away the Sun family's great shame. When Old Man Sun appeared at the front desk, the meeting room immediately quieted down. After all, the family master's authority was greater than anything else. Just when everyone thought that the Sun family was going to mobilize all the power of the family to take revenge on Qin Haodong, they heard Sun Xingtian say, "I've gathered everyone here to announce one thing. From now on, no one is allowed to provoke Qin Haodong of Daddy Security Company. Today's matter is over, and no one is allowed to mention the word revenge again." There was an uproar in the meeting room. No one expected that Sun Xingtian would directly give up on revenge. Was he still the overbearing family master of the Sun family in the past? How can this be? Is our Sun family being bullied like this? Our manor was destroyed just like this? In the past, only our Sun family bullied others. When have we ever been bullied? What does the old man mean? How can we tolerate this kind of thing? These people only saw the tragic situation of the Sun family and did not see the terrible strength that Qin Haodong had shown. They thought that Sun Xingtian did not want to take revenge. They never thought that the Sun family did not have the strength to take revenge at all. "All of you shut up. I'm not dead yet. It's not your turn to question my decision." Sun Xingtian's angry voice resounded throughout the meeting room. Everyone immediately quieted down. After all, the family master's power was still there. "I've already said this. If anyone dares to go against my orders and provoke Qin Haodong, then get out of the Sun family and never come back in this life." After that, he turned and left the meeting room, leaving the Sun family members looking at each other in dismay. Although these people did not understand what was going on, they had to carry out the family master's order. Otherwise, with Sun Xingtian's ruthlessness, he would definitely be expelled from the Sun family. These people also knew very well that although they usually looked powerful, if they left the Sun family, they would be nothing. In Shanghai, the news that the Sun family was swept away by the Daddy Security Company quickly spread to all the aristocratic families, causing a great uproar at once. Many people were shocked. Everyone knew the strength of the Sun family. The three friends of winter had dominated the entire martial arts world in Shanghai for many years, but they were beaten by the Daddy Security Company. If it were not for the photos of the Sun family being smashed in front of them, it would be hard to believe that this was true. More importantly, the Sun family completely surrendered and did not take any revenge. On the contrary, after the manor was smashed, they had to compensate 500 million yuan. At the same time, they had to renovate Lin's jewelry company within 3 days. For an aristocratic family, this was a great humiliation. At the same time, it showed how powerful the family master of the daddy security company was. Since then, the name Qin Haodong had been known by everyone in the upper class. Since then, the daddy security company had become famous after one battle. Some people had redivided the top forces in Shanghai. Besides the 3 aristocratic families, the daddy security company was added. It was even said that the daddy security company was vaguely superior to the 3 aristocratic families. Many aristocratic families held special meetings about what had happened to the Sun family, and the Zhou family was no exception. After the meeting, Zhou Xinju looked at the information in her hand with a smile on her face. She murmured, "Not only is this little man's medical skills amazing, but he also hides his strength so deeply. He's really worth pursuing." Zhou Tao, on the other hand, looked excited. Grandmaster is indeed domineering. He actually beat the old bastard of the Sun family, until he didn't have any temper at all. Chapter 536. In the Chu family, Chu Xiongfei, the master of the Chu family, stood in front of the window with his hands behind his back. He couldn't calm down for a long time. The Chu family was only a second-rate family in Shanghai. It couldn't be compared with the first-class families like the Sun family, Zheng family and Zhou family. They were much weaker in all aspects. Just now, he received news that the recently rising daddy security company in Shanghai had defeated the arrogant Sun family. The head of the security company was not King Ma, but another young man named Qin Haodong. From the beginning, there was another daddy security company above the 3 big families in Shanghai. The head of the company, Qin Haodong, was decisive and ruthless, and his cultivation was unfathomable. In any case, he had already listed Qin Haodong as a person who could not be provoked in his heart. Just as he was lost in thought, the housekeeper came to him and said, "Master, the young master has locked himself in the room. He hasn't eaten or drunk for a day and a night. I don't know what happened." When the bodyguards left, they deliberately told the nearby family that the young master was resting and not to be disturbed. However, it had been so long and the bodyguards had not returned. There was no movement in the room at all. The family was still suspicious and reported it to the housekeeper. The housekeeper also felt that something was wrong and quickly reported it to Chu Xiongfei, the master of the family. "Come with me to have a look." Chu Xiongfei took his family to Chu Huayu's room. After knocking for a long time, there was still no movement in the room. The phone was turned off. He frowned and felt that something was wrong. He ordered the bodyguards around him, "Break the door for me." Several strong bodyguards opened the door quickly and rushed in, but they were suddenly dumbfounded after entering the door. The young master, Chu Huayu, was tied up and thrown on the ground like a dumpling. A sock was stuffed in his mouth, and he was wearing a snow-white nurse's uniform. His exposed skin was full of blue and purple whip marks and bright red wax oil, which looked funny and a little shocking. Chu Xiongfei suddenly became furious. "Who did this? Hurry up and let go of the young master." Several bodyguards rushed over and pulled the sock out of Chu Huayu's mouth, and then cut the rope on his body. Chu Huayu struggled a few times, but did not stand up. After being tied up for such a long time, the blood in his body was not circulating, and his limbs were numb. He had lost the ability to move. The bodyguards massaged him to improve his blood circulation. After a long time, he finally stood up from the ground. "Father, you must avenge me. You must tear these bastards into pieces." Chu Huayu hugged Chu Xiongfei's thigh and cried bitterly. Chu Xiongfei asked with a black face, "What the hell is going on? Tell me who did this." "Father will definitely uphold justice for you." At this time, he was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. In the Chu family's villa, his son had been harmed like this. Wasn't this a slap in the face to the Chu family? "It's my bodyguards. These bastards eating and drinking from me. How dare they turn around and harm me?" Hearing Chu Huayu's crying, Chu Xiongfei was confused and said, "Why did your bodyguard attack you?" Have they gone mad? It's all that Qin brat's fault. Chu Huayu told him how Qin Haodong tried to snatch Nalan Wuxiao from him, and how he sent bodyguards to plot against Qin Haodong. He did not expect that those bodyguards would betray him when they came back, and use all their means on him. Father, you must uphold justice for me. Catch that Qin brat, cut him into pieces, and throw him into the river to feed the fish. After listening to him, Chu Xiongfei's face became more and more ugly. He asked in a cold voice, "Who is that person you are talking about?" "His name is Qin Haodong, a pretty boy in his 20s. Before Chu Huayu could finish speaking, he was kicked out by Chu Xiongfei. "Father, what are you doing? Why did you hit me?" Chu Huayu was completely stunned. He had suffered such a great grievance. But his father not only did not help him vent his anger, but also objected to him punching and kicking him. Was he still his father? "You son of a b***tch, why did you provoke Qin Haodong? Do you want to kill the Chu family?" Chu Xiongfei was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He had just listed Qin Haodong as a person who could not be provoked. He did not expect that his disappointing son would go to snatch a woman from Qin Haodong. Even the Sun family, a huge family, could not raise its head. Once Qin Haodong was angry, it would be a matter of minutes for him to destroy the Chu family. Thinking of this, he slapped Chu Huayu's face a few more times. He turned to the bodyguard beside him and said, "Tie this beast up again." The pitiful young master of the Chu clan had only been released for a short while before he was tied up again. Chu Huayu struggled and shouted, "Father, what are you doing? Let me go and help me get revenge." Chu Xiongfei said with a cold face, "Shut up. Do you still want revenge? Do you know how much trouble you have caused for the Chu family this time?" Chu Huayu said unconvinced, "Isn't he just a poor boy? What's the big deal? What's the big deal?" Facing his idiot son, Chu Xiongfei said bitterly, "Do you know that Qin Haodong just brought people to wipe out the Sun family? Even Sun Xingtian, who has always been domineering, was beaten by him. How can you say that it's not a big deal? Now he is above the 3 great families in Shanghai. You have provoked such a ruthless person. You are setting the Chu family up. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible." Chu Huayu said after being shocked, "Father, they must have the same name. That poor boy can't be so capable." Chu Xiongfei thought for a moment, and felt that it was also possible. He took out the information he had just collected from his pocket, and handed Qin Haodong's photo to Chu Huayu. "Look, is this the person?" Chu Huayu looked at the photo. When he saw Qin Haodong's appearance, he was so scared that his face turned pale. Needless to say, Chu Xiongfei also gave up the last hope. He said to the 2 bodyguards next to him, "Take this beast and follow me." Not long after Qin Haodong returned home, Saber came in and reported, "Boss, Chu Xiongfei, the master of the Chu family, wants to see you." The corner of his mouth curled into a smile as he said, "Let him in." A moment later, Chu Xiongfei came to Qin Haodong with Chu Huayu. He said respectfully, "Mr. Qin, I'm really sorry. My son was blind and offended you. Today I brought him to apologize to you." After that, he turned his head and shouted at Chu Huayu, "Little beast, kneel down and apologize to Mr. Qin. If Mr. Qin doesn't forgive you, I will beat you to death." At this time, Chu Huayu also knew that he had caused a big trouble. He didn't have the temper of a young master at all. He knelt in front of Qin Haodong and said, "Mr. Qin, I was wrong. Please let me go this time." Qin Haodong looked at Chu Huayu. He no longer had the image of an elegant young master. Although he had changed his clothes, the purple whip marks on his body were still clearly visible. Thinking of the photos he saw in the evening, he couldn't help smiling and said, "Young Master Chu, your idea is really good. I don't know if you are online. Now you are a hot topic on the internet. Ordinary people can't get on the internet, even if they pay money." Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Chu Huayu wanted to die. It seemed that those bodyguards had really posted his photos on the internet. How could he go out and meet people in the future? Chu Xiongfei couldn't care less. What he was most concerned about now was how to calm Qin Haodong's anger, and how to protect the Chu family. "Mr. Qin, in order to express our sincerity in apologizing to you, we have specially prepared some small gifts. Please accept them." After that, He waved his hand behind him. The housekeeper who was waiting at the door immediately came in, followed by 10 women. These 10 women had different skin colors. Some were white, some were yellow, and there was a big black girl. Some were plump, some were slim, some were hot, and some were skinny. The common characteristic of them was that they were tall and beautiful. It was obvious that they had received relevant etiquette training. It turned out that Chu Xiongfei had a rough understanding of Qin Haodong. He knew that there were many beautiful women around him, and thought that he was a lecherous person. In addition, the Chu family controlled several large modeling companies, and had a lot of beautiful women, so he carefully selected 10 beautiful women, and sent them to him. Chu Xiongfei said, "Mr. Qin, these people will listen to you in the future. You can do whatever you want." Qin Haodong was speechless for a while. He thought that he was a lecherous person. Before he could speak, Li Meiyu came in from outside. When she saw these female models, her face suddenly turned cold. "Qin Haodong, what are you doing? Are you going to have a harem?" Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought that Chu Xiongfei was too unreliable. Not to mention that he didn't want these women. Even if he wanted them, he wouldn't have brought them to his house in such a big way. Wasn't he looking for trouble for himself? "No, it has nothing to do with me." Qin Haodong turned around and said to Chu Xiongfei righteously, "What kind of person do you think I am? Take them away quickly." At this time, Chu Xiongfei also realized that he had done something wrong. He quickly waved his hand and asked the housekeeper to take all the models out. "Miss, don't get me wrong. These are the servants I prepared for Mr. Qin. Since you don't like them, I'll take them back." Qin Haodong didn't want to waste any more time with him. He said, "Okay, take your son away quickly." "Thank you, Mr. Qin." Chu Xiongfei pulled Chu Huayu up from the ground. Although Qin Haodong said that he had let them go, he was obviously not very happy. It would be troublesome if he got even with the Chu family later. He added, "Mr. Qin, I also prepared a small gift for you." Seeing that Li Meiyu's face darkened again, he quickly said, "It's not anything else this time, but a medicinal material." Then he took a wooden box from the housekeeper. After opening it, there was a piece of Ganoderma inside, but it was not complete. A part of it had been used. Qin Haodong's eyes suddenly lit up. Although this Ganoderma was incomplete, it was rich in spiritual qi, and was more than 1,000 years old. It was a good thing that was hard to find. Seeing his expression, Chu Xiongfei knew that he had made the right bet this time. He quickly said, "Mr. Qin, my father was seriously ill some time ago. I spent a lot of effort to buy this Ganoderma from a medicine farmer. Now my father has passed away. Although I don't know medicine, I know that this is a good thing. I'll give it to you." Qin Haodong took the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma and said with satisfaction, "This thing is good. I want it. If your Chu family needs anything in the future, just tell me." "Thank you, Mr. Qin. We won't disturb you anymore." Seeing that Qin Haodong was satisfied, Chu Xiongfei did not say anything more, and immediately left his villa with his people. After going out, he stroked his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he had dealt with this evil person, and the Chu family had escaped a disaster. Qin Haodong held the 1,000-year-old Ganoderma and was overjoyed. This was really an unexpected surprise. After reaching the Supreme Power Realm, the effect of the spirit culturing pill had weakened a lot. If he wanted to help Lin Momo and the others continue to improve their cultivation, the best way was to refine the energy-gathering pill suitable for Supreme Power Realm experts. The 1,000-year-old Ganoderma was the main ingredient of the energy-gathering pill. Chapter 537. Qin Haodong was holding the Ganoderma happily, but Li Meiyu snatched it away. He hurriedly cried, "Hey, what are you doing? This is a 1,000-year-old medicine. Don't spoil it." Li Meiyu took the Ganoderma in her hand and looked at it. She didn't know any medical skills, so she couldn't tell what was wrong with it. She said casually, "What's wrong with it? It looks like a piece of wood." Qin Haodong quickly took it back and said, "This is a priceless treasure. You can't buy it even if you have money." Li Meiyu said, "Keep pretending. If I weren't here, Would you have had those 10 beauties? Qin Haodong said. It's not pretending. Even 100 or 1,000 women can't compare to this Ganoderma, let alone 10. What about me? How do I compare with it? You. Qin Haodong suddenly came to his senses. You're much more valuable than it. Seeing that Li Meiyu's expression became cold again, he hurriedly said, I mean, you're priceless to me. How can you compare with medicine? That's more like it. Finally, Qin Haodong said quickly, I won't accompany you for now. I'm going to refine medicine. After that, he ran to carry the little fellow over. The father and daughter went into the underground alchemy room together. He told Saber to guard the door, and then they began to refine medicine. Although he had won a big victory in the Sun family this time, Qin Haodong was not blindly arrogant. On the contrary, he had a sense of crisis. Shanghai was an economic city in Huaxia. It was not the holy land of martial arts, but there were 3 supreme masters in the Sun family at once. If it was the capital, how many masters would there be? Because of this sense of crisis, he had to improve his strength as soon as possible, make full use of his advantages, and use the elixirs to improve the cultivation of Ma Wenjue, Lin Momo and others. The little fellow was never tired of helping her father refine medicine. She spent the whole afternoon in the alchemy room, first refining 2 furnaces of energy-gathering pills, and then refining many other commonly used elixirs. They didn't walk out of the alchemy room happily until it was almost evening. As soon as they went out, Saber said, Boss, someone is looking for you. He has been waiting outside. Qin Haodong asked, Do you know who it is? He said he is from the Zhou family. His name is Zhou Tao. Oh, bring him in to my room. After saying that, Qin Haodong sent the little fellow to Lin Momo, and then returned to his room. Not long after, Saber came in with Zhou Tao. Boss, you're really too awesome. You actually beat up that old bastard from the Sun clan, until he doesn't even have any temper left. Zhou Tao said excitedly. I have long disliked those people from the Sun family. They are arrogant all day long, but unfortunately, they don't have the strength. Boss, you really make people happy. Qin Haodong motioned him to sit down, and then said, You came to my house on the weekend just to tell me this? Of course it's not just that. I'm looking for boss for something. As Zhou Tao spoke, he took out a piece of A4 paper from his pocket and handed it to Qin Haodong. Boss, look, those Koreans not only broke their promise after losing, but also sent us a letter of challenge. Qin Haodong took the A4 paper and looked at it. It was a letter of challenge to the Huaxia Martial Arts Club. There was no name on it, only the Taekwondo Club was marked. Boss, I've inquired about it. I heard that these Koreans have found new helpers from China, so they dare to come here and continue to clamor. Qin Haodong put down the A4 paper, looked at him jokingly and said, This is a letter of challenge to your martial arts club. You can deal with it yourself. Why are you looking for me? Boss, you can't just stand by and watch me die. Zhou Tao said with a bitter face, I know my skills best. I can't even beat Kim Yangquan, let alone the masters they have found from China. It doesn't matter if I lose. The key is to represent Huaxia martial arts. At that time, you will lose face. Qin Haodong said. If your own cultivation is not good, you should hurry to improve it. You can't always count on others on the road of martial arts. Boss, practicing martial arts is not a matter of a day or two. Besides, with my aptitude, my master said that I can reach the 9th level of overt power at most. It is impossible for me to break through to the covert power. Zhou Tao sighed and said with annoyance, I've liked martial arts since I was a child, but God played such a joke on me. Everyone said that my aptitude was not suitable for martial arts. Qin Haodong said, In fact, aptitude can be changed, as long as you have a heart for martial arts. Boss, what did you say? Can you change my aptitude? Zhou Tao immediately jumped up. If this was said by someone else, he would definitely not believe it. But now he had a kind of blind worship for Qin Haodong, the kind of crazy fan. Even if Qin Haodong said that he could break through to the level of covert power by jumping from a skyscraper, he would not hesitate to jump. It's not difficult, Qin Haodong said as he took out a marrow cleansing pill. Take it. It will be done in a few minutes. Great, thank you, boss. Zhou Tao was so excited that he took the marrow-cleansing pill and swallowed it without any hesitation. He didn't even ask what kind of pill it was. Qin Haodong asked him to sit cross-legged, then put his palm on the Baihui acupoint on the top of his head, and used greenwood genuine qi to help him catalyze the effect of the pill. Zhou Tao felt a burning aura rising from his dantian and quickly swept through his whole body, as if all the meridians were burned. But this was nothing to him. As long as he could change his aptitude, he could persist even if he had to climb a mountain of knives and go through a sea of fire. About 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong withdrew his palm and said, "Well, although your current aptitude is not as good as that of the top geniuses who practice martial arts, you are much better than ordinary people." "Really, boss?" Zhou Tao jumped up from the ground and felt indescribably comfortable all over his body. His mind was much clearer. The martial arts problems that had troubled him for a long time in the past were solved as soon as he thought about it. "Boss, you are so great. Are you an immortal? I really love you." As he said that, he rushed to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong raised his hand, and an invisible force blocked him outside. "Don't do that. I only like women. I'm not interested in men. It's easy to like women." Zhou Tao was still excited and said, "Boss, my sister is a great beauty. Why don't you go after her? I can help you." Qin Haodong looked at him and said, "You won't sell your sister for an elixir, will you?" Zhou Tao said, "Of course not. The key is that you are excellent enough. In the past, I thought that no man could match my sister. Now I think you can be my brother-in-law. What do you think?" "I don't think so. What's in your head? You'd better think about how to deal with the challenge on Monday." When Zhou Tao heard this, he said with a bitter face, "Boss, you won't really sit back and do nothing, will you? Do you think the cultivation of those guys is worth it for me to fight? It's really not worth it." Zhou Tao also knew that with Qin Haodong's cultivation at the Supreme Power Realm, it was a bit bullying to deal with those guys at the Covert Power Realm at most. But he really couldn't beat them, let alone the others in the martial arts club. "But boss," "No buts. You have to rely on yourself to deal with those people." Qin Haodong said, "It doesn't matter if your cultivation is low. I can help you improve it now." After that, he took out a big spirit culturing pill and threw it to Zhou Tao. "Eat this, and I'll help you break through to the Covert Power Realm." "Really, boss? You are really my brother-in-law." Zhou Tao was so excited that he jumped high. In the past, Lei Bao told him that with his aptitude, he could reach the 9th level of overt power at most. There was no hope for him to reach the Covert Power Realm in this life. Now that Qin Haodong could help him break through to the Covert Power Realm, how could he not be happy? "Don't talk nonsense. Sit down quickly." Qin Haodong asked him to sit cross-legged and eat the big spirit culturing pill. Then he put his palm on his Baihui acupoint again and used greenwood genuine qi to catalyze the effect of the big spirit culturing pill. The big spirit culturing pill was originally used by masters at the Covert Power Realm. It was completely overkill for a warrior at the Overt Power Realm like Zhou Tao. After Zhou Tao ate the pill, he suddenly felt that his whole dantian was boiling, like erupting magma, and the violent genuine qi was raging around his meridians. If an ordinary warrior at the Overt Power Realm took the big spirit culturing pill rashly, the final result would be the explosion of his body and death. But with Qin Haodong by his side, this situation would naturally not happen. He turned the greenwood genuine qi into a fine net, which bound the genuine qi running around, and could only move in the predetermined direction. Under the effect of the violent medicine, only a few minutes later, Zhou Tao heard a slight click in his mind. He broke through from the 8th level of overt power to the 9th level of overt power, and the surging genuine qi was much stronger than before. However, this small breakthrough only consumed a small part of the big spirit culturing pill. The genuine qi was still violent and rushed around. Under the guidance of Qin Haodong, 10 minutes later, the click sounded again. The momentum of Zhou Tao's body suddenly rose, and the surging genuine qi turned into a surging river, which was more than twice as thick as before. With the help of Qin Haodong, in less than 20 minutes, he completed a transformation from the 8th level of overt power to a warrior at the Covert Power Realm. He was ecstatic. He had once been determined that he had no fate with the covert power realm in this life. He did not expect that he would break through so soon. At this time, he admired his master very much. Calm down and consolidate your cultivation. It's not over yet. Qin Haodong did not stop. He guided Zhou Tao to run his genuine qi to consolidate the cultivation that had just been promoted to the level of covert power. At the same time, he used the greenwood genuine qi to repair the damaged meridians during the breakthrough. Half an hour later, Zhou Tao had completely stabilized his cultivation. Qin Haodong took out 2 big spirit culturing pills and stuffed them into his mouth. The masters invited by Kim Yanquan were likely to be more than the first level of covert power. In order to ensure that they could win this competition, Qin Haodong certainly could not be satisfied with the first level of covert power, so he continued to help him improve his cultivation. After eating 2 big spirit culturing pills, Zhou Tao's genuine qi, which had just calmed down, boiled violently again. It was like pouring cold water into hot oil, raging wildly. Qin Haodong did the same thing and continued to help him break through the blocked meridians and improve his cultivation. About an hour later, Qin Haodong retracted his right hand, and the improvement, which was almost like enlightenment, was over. Zhou Tao suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were shining, and his whole body exuded a powerful momentum. He was like a different person from 2 hours ago. He jumped up from the ground. With such a light jump, he jumped 3 or 4 meters high. He punched in the air. With a bang, the powerful fist force made a hole as big as a basketball in the wall next to him. After his feet landed on the ground, he plopped to his knees and said, "Zhou Tao thanks you for your kindness." He knew very well that all this was given by the master in front of him. Without Qin Haodong, he was destined to be ordinary in this life, and it was impossible for him to improve his cultivation to the 3rd level of covert power. "Get up." Qin Haodong waved his hand, and an invisible force dragged him up. "Boy, you are so happy when you are just at the 3rd level of covert power. I tell you, you must fix my wall, or I won't let you go." Zhou Tao said with a smile, "Don't worry, boss. I can build you another building." Chapter 538. Qin Haodong glared at him and said, "Don't be happy too early. Improving your cultivation is only the first step. Your actual combat ability is still far from enough." After that, he took Zhou Tao to the yard and raised his hand to call Saber and the others over. "From now on, I'll leave this guy to you until tomorrow noon. You must train him well. If you lose to the Koreans tomorrow, find a piece of tofu and kill yourself." Saber glanced at Zhou Tao, moved his wrist and said, "Don't worry, boss. We will make you satisfied." Qin Haodong patted Zhou Tao on the shoulder and turned to leave. Sword said, "Come on, little guy. I'll suppress my cultivation to the same level as you. Let's play together." Zhou Tao had just reached the 3rd level of covert power. He felt that there was endless power all over his body. He was full of self-confidence. Naturally, he would not be afraid of the challenge of Sword. He moved his feet and rushed over. However, his self-esteem was soon beaten back to reality. Sword grabbed his wrist and threw him out with a gentle pull. He fell on the lawn with a plop. Saber said, "The strength is wrong, the method is wrong, and the heat is wrong. In short, you are too weak." Zhou Tao jumped up from the ground unconvinced. Again, as members of the Divine Mercenaries, these people had walked on the edge of a knife. They had experienced countless dangers and even faced death countless times. Their moves and experience were honed in the environment of life and death. Naturally, Zhou Tao, the young master, could not compare with them. Therefore, even if Sword suppressed his cultivation to the same level, Zhou Tao was not his opponent. However, under the guidance of Saber, Whip and others, Zhou Tao made rapid progress. At the beginning, he could not resist one move. Slowly, he improved to 2 or 3 moves. His skills and experience were improving every second. Qin Haodong returned to the room and gave a few energy-gathering pills to Ma Wenjue, Lin Momo, and others. Finally, he came to Jia Shirhan's room. He took the energy-gathering pill and said, "Shirhan, did your master say that we can use the pill to unlock the seal?" Master said that as long as it can be unlocked, it's fate. It should be possible. Then eat this pill and see if it has any effect. After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he sent the energy-gathering pill to Jia Shirhan. Jia Shirhan took it and put it into her mouth. After a long time, she shook her head and said, "Little brother, there's no reaction." Oh, Qin Haodong was slightly disappointed. This seal was really strange. It seemed that he could only find a way slowly. The next day, classes began on Monday. When everyone arrived at school, the news that the Taekwondo club would challenge the Huaxia Martial Arts Club again had spread like wildfire. After the last class, everyone flocked to the Taekwondo club. This time, the number of people who came to watch the show was much more than the last time. The hall that could accommodate 1,000 people was packed to the brim, and many people found it difficult to get a seat. Qin Haodong took Li Meiyu, Nailan Wushuang, and the others to the clubhouse, and found that Zhou Tao had prepared a special coach's seat next to the arena. Even a leather sofa was prepared. Tea, coffee, and all kinds of drinks were prepared. "Boss, you're here." Although there were 2 panda eyes on his face, he still couldn't hide the excitement in his heart. Last night, he had been trained by Saber and several others in turn. He was so excited that he wanted to die. However, his progress was also obvious. He was able to survive 100 moves with long sword, which made him full of confidence for today's challenge. Not bad. Qin Haodong nodded to Zhou Tao and was about to sit down on the sofa. At this time, he heard someone next to him shouting, "Qin Haodong, you heartless man." Originally, everyone was waiting to watch the competition in the arena. When they heard this shout, they immediately turned their eyes to this side. Qin Haodong turned his head and saw the sexy campus belle Li Jiumei standing beside him with her hands on her hips, looking unfriendly. It was no wonder that she was angry. On Friday afternoon, she waited for 2 hours on Gentleman Mountain, but she did not see Qin Haodong's shadow. For so many years, it had always been others chasing after her, and no one had ever stood her up. Naturally, she was furious. Under the gaze of thousands of people, Qin Haodong was speechless and said in a low voice, "Sister, when did I provoke you? Let me ask you, why did you stand me up?" Li Jiumei's expression changed extremely quickly, from aggressive just now to infinite grievance, like a delicate little wife. "I didn't agree to go at all. How can you say that I stood you up? I don't care. You must apologize to me." Li Jiumei said unruly. It was said that every woman was born to be an actress. Qin Haodong finally saw it. With such good acting skills, she did not need to study at the medical college. It would be better to go directly to the Huaxia Drama Academy. "Sister, I did nothing wrong. Why should I apologize? If you don't apologize, then I will announce in public that I am pregnant with your child." Qin Haodong almost fell to the ground. He really had no way to deal with such a girl, who did not follow the rules. He could only hang the white flag. "I'm sorry, madam. It's my fault, okay? That's more like it." Li Jiumei no longer blamed him. She said with a sweet smile, "It just so happens that I can't find a seat. Your sofa is good. I'll accompany you to watch the competition." After that, she held Qin Haodong's arm generously and sat down on a sofa. This is not good, is it? Why don't you go somewhere else?" As soon as Qin Haodong sat down, he felt the murderous intent from Li Meiyu. "Are you going to drive me away? Is this the attitude of an apology?" Li Jiumei did not intend to leave. On the contrary, she held his arm tighter, and her full chest brought him great pressure. "Fox, let go of me!" Li Meiyu burst out. Li Jiumei looked up at her and said jokingly, "Why should I let go of you just because you ask me to?" Li Meiyu said angrily, "Shameless. He is my boyfriend. Why do you have to hold him?" "Your boyfriend? Do you have a certificate?" "I said he is my boyfriend," Li Jiumei said as she tightened her arm. The huge sense of oppression made Qin Haodong feel more and more embarrassed. This woman deserved to be called the sexy campus belle. She did have enough capital. "You. Let go of me." "I said I won't let go. It's my arm. I can hold whoever I want." Seeing that the tension between the two of them was getting stronger and stronger, Qin Haodong quickly persuaded, "Okay, stop arguing. Don't make a fool of yourself." Li Jiumei did not leave. and Li Meiyu could not do anything about it. In the end, she sat on the other side of the sofa angrily and held Qin Haodong's other arm tightly. Originally, this sofa was very spacious and more than enough for one person to sit on, but it was a little crowded for 2 people, and it was even more crowded for 3 people. Under the watchful eyes of the public, Qin Haodong immediately became the focus of the audience, attracting countless envious and hateful eyes. But he had no choice. He could not afford to provoke these 2 girls now. On the stand next to him, 2 handsome young men were sitting together. They looked at Qin Haodong, who was squeezed between the 2 campus belle. One of them looked gloomy, and the other's eyes flashed with hatred. These 2 were the other 2 of the 4 Prince Charming, Zheng Hongda of the Zheng family and Sun Jin of the Sun family. They were surrounded by their respective bodyguards. Sun Jin smiled at Zheng Hongda and said, "What's wrong? Are you jealous, young Master Zheng?" Zheng Hongda did not speak, but his face became more and more ugly. He liked Li Jiumei and had pursued her for several years. This was a well-known fact in the medical college. But for some reason, Li Jiumei had no feelings for him at all. She just refused him. But now Li Jiumei was so intimate with Qin Haodong in public, which made him feel like he had been cheated on. Sun Jin said again, "Young Master Zheng, what do you think of my proposal? As long as we work together, we can get this guy in prison. At that time, the sexy campus belle will still be yours." Zheng Hongda said, "I heard that your old master has ordered that no one is allowed to provoke this guy. You openly violate the family rules. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the old man?" Sun Jin said, "The old man is old and has lost his courage. He doesn't even dare to fart when he is being bullied. But he is just timid. He must hate this guy in his heart. As long as I get Qin Haodong into prison, the old man will definitely look at me with new eyes, and maybe he will let me be the heir of the family master. But this matter must be kept secret, so I can't use much power. That's why I need your help. This matter is good for both of us. I don't think you have any reason to refuse." Zheng Hongda hesitated for a moment and finally said, "Okay, I agree. You do the first thing, and leave the rest to me." Sun Jin smiled proudly and said, "Great. Let's wait and see." At this time, on the other side of the ring, the people of the Taekwondo club also arrived. Jin Yingquan and Qishuan and Piao Zaixiang came in with 2 young people, a man and a woman. Qin Haodong glanced at them. The man and the woman were like the male and female protagonists in idol dramas. The man was handsome and chic, and the woman was beautiful and sweet. Both of them had a kind of noble air from big families. It could be seen that their backgrounds were not ordinary. In terms of cultivation, the man had reached the first level of covert power, and the woman had reached the second level of covert power. It seemed that the emergency special training for Zhou Tao was still very necessary. Otherwise, with his previous strength, he would not be able to take today's challenge at all. Cousin, please sit down." Jin Yingquan respectfully asked the 2 of them to sit in the first place. The man's name was Kim Jisung, and the woman's name was Kim Jihyun. Like him, they were both from the Kim family of Koryo. However, he was an outer disciple of the Kim family, while the 2 of them were the core members of the 3rd generation. Kim Jisung and Kim Jihyun were the best of the 3rd generation of the Kim family. Their cultivation had even entered the level of covert power. This time, they represented the Kim group to participate in a financial summit in Huaxia. In order to get back the face he had lost, Kim Jisung said a lot of good words to invite them to the medical college. This was also the reason why he issued the challenge letter. Kim Jisung said proudly, "Tell Huaxia to prepare for the competition immediately. Our time is very precious. We need to help you deal with these people as soon as possible. There are still many things to do." Kim Jihyun frowned and said, "Brother, you can't be too careless. Don't forget Grandpa's words. You can despise anyone, but you can't despise Huaxia. Huaxia has always been a place with many hidden dragons and crouching tigers." Kim Jisung waved his hand and said indifferently, "Grandpa is afraid that we will be proud. Who are we? We are the geniuses of the whole Koryo. How can we be afraid of Huaxia people? Moreover, I have seen all the videos brought by Yingquan. Although I don't know what strange means that Huaxia boy used to quickly improve the cultivation of those people. It is only below the level of covert power. Once the cultivation reaches our level, that kind of dirty means will be useless. Let's see how I will teach them a lesson later. Kim Ji-hyun shook her head. Her brother was still too proud. I'm afraid that he would only learn a lesson after suffering a big loss. Chapter 539. Jin In-kwon stepped onto the ring and shouted to the Hwaxia Martial Arts Club. Zhou Tao, I don't know what dirty means you, and that gigolo used last time to plot against our Taekwondo club. Today I've invited my cousin and cousin to show you what real Taekwondo is. Zhou Tao immediately became angry and shouted, Bah! You don't want to admit it after losing, and you even put the blame on me. Don't you Koryo people have any shame? There was an uproar in the crowd. These Koreans are really too shameless. A loss is a loss, and they're not going to admit it. Shameless, really too shameless. No wonder there are always some Koreans shouting that the Dragon Boat Festival is theirs, that Li Shizhen is theirs, and that Confucius is theirs. It turns out that their skin is too thick. Teach them a lesson. Since they aren't convinced, I'll give them a good slap in the face. Jin In-kwon shouted. You're not convinced, right? Then come up and experience my cousin's power. After listening to him, Lee Wan-yong, Baikan and the others immediately gathered around Chin Haodong and said, Boss, help us again. Let's go up and teach this guy a lesson. Last time, they had shown their faces on the stage, but when they returned, they found that the power in their bodies had disappeared. Although their cultivation had increased slightly, it was very small. These people knew that it must be Chin Haodong who had helped them, so they came over again to ask their boss to help them recreate the magic. Chin Haodong waved his hand and said, It's useless. That guy has reached the level of covert power. It's useless for you to go up. In the end, you still have to rely on your own hard work on the path of martial arts. External help can only help you for a while, but not forever. The King Kong talisman could improve a person's strength and defense, but it was only limited to the level of obvious strength. It was useless against a master of inward strength. Hearing this, Lee Wan-yong and the others could only nod and silently retreat to the side. Don't worry, brothers. There's still me. Zhou Tao said energetically. Don't worry, everyone. I will teach these guys a lesson for you today. After that, he jumped onto the ring and shouted to Jin In-kwon. No matter who comes today, I will fight against them alone. With the help of Chin Haodong, he reached the third level of covert power overnight, which made him feel refreshed and confident. Kid, don't be arrogant. Watch how my cousin teaches you a lesson. Kim Yang-kwon said as he got off the ring. Kim Ji-sung stepped up and glanced at Zhou Tao with disdain. He had seen the video given by Jin In-kwon before. The guy in front of him was at most at the 8th level of overt power, which was several levels lower than him, at the first level of covert power. He said arrogantly, Boy, don't say that I'm bullying you. I'll let you have 3 moves today. Since this guy was so arrogant, Zhou Tao smiled sinisterly. You said it. Don't regret it. Kim Ji-sung said. Are you kidding? It's not a big deal to deal with an opponent at your level. It's just a waste of time. Below the stage, Kim Ji-hyun frowned again. It seemed that her brother didn't listen to her words at all. He still underestimated the enemy. She didn't know why, but she felt that the young man in front of her wasn't simple. He gave her a great sense of crisis. Since you're willing, then I won't stand on ceremony. After Zhou Tao finished speaking, he made a gesture of 8 extremes boxing, and then punched out fiercely. Kim Ji-sung raised his left hand and gently pushed it out. In his opinion, even 50% of his strength was more than enough to deal with a player at the level of overt power. Therefore, he didn't use all his strength this time. But when his palm touched Zhou Tao's arm, it was like touching a mountain. He couldn't move it at all. What's going on? Kim Ji-sung suddenly panicked. Seeing that the fist was already in front of him, he was so flustered that he forgot the promise of letting Zhou Tao make 3 moves. He raised his right hand and also punched. With a muffled bang, the 2 fists collided. Kim Ji-sung felt as if his punch had hit a train that was speeding towards him. A huge force hit him, causing him to fly into the air and directly fall off the arena. One move. With just one move, Kim Ji-sung, who had just been arrogant, was knocked off the ring. Seeing that Zhou Tao had won so easily, the whole audience was thunderous and everyone cheered. Huaxia Kung Fu is the best in the world. Taekwondo is not worth mentioning at all. Zhou Tao said proudly to Qin Haodong. Boss, how was it? Did I do well? Qin Haodong rolled his eyes at him and said, You defeated such an arrogant waste. What's there to be proud of? When we go back, I'll ask Saber to give you more food. Zhou Tao's face suddenly turned bitter. In the stands, Zheng Hongda said, When did this guy become so powerful? If he defeats all the Koreans, your plan won't be easy to implement. Sun Jin said, Don't worry. I have a backup plan. I'll let Qin Haodong come to the ring, and then send him to prison. As soon as Kim Yangkwon stepped down from the ring, he turned around and wanted to see how his cousin would teach Zhou Tao a lesson. But before he could see the situation on the ring, Kim Ji-sung fell in front of him. What's going on? He couldn't believe his eyes. Kim Ji-sung was known as a martial arts genius in choreo. Although he was not as good as the genius girl Kim Ji-hyun, he had reached the level of covert power at his age. He was definitely one of the best among his peers. But such a person was knocked out of the ring as soon as he went up. When did Zhou Tao become so powerful? The Taekwondo Club and the Huaxia Martial Arts Club had been fighting against each other for so many years. He knew Zhou Tao's skills very well. How could a person who was not even as good as him defeat his cousin, who was at the level of covert power, in the blink of an eye? Toy boy, it must be that toy boy. If it weren't for him, Zhou Tao would never have become so powerful. Kim Ji-sung lay on the ground. First he was punched, and then he fell heavily. His whole body was in pain. He struggled a few times but failed to stand up. He was an extremely arrogant person. This punch not only injured his physical body, but also shattered his arrogant heart. Seeing that Kim Yangkwon was standing there in a daze, and had no intention of helping him, he couldn't help but vent all his anger on him. What are you doing? Why aren't you helping me up? Only then did Kim Yangkwon come to his senses. He hurriedly helped Kim Ji-sung up, and helped him sit on a chair. Kim Ji-hyun came over and asked with concern, Brother, are you okay? I'm fine. I don't believe that I can't beat this Huaxia boy. Kim Ji-sung struggled to stand up, and wanted to go to the ring again. He was really not convinced that he had lost. Well, brother, you are really no match for that person. She saw it clearly from the audience. Although Zhou Tao had won by some tricks, Kim Ji-sung was still no match for him if they fought head-on. Kim Ji-sung stopped and cried, Sister, you must avenge me. Kim Ji-hyun turned to look at Kim Yangkwon and said, Are you sure that the video you gave us is the latest one? Kim Yangkwon said, Cousin, those videos were recorded last Friday. There is absolutely no falsehood. Kim Ji-hyun frowned and said, It's really strange. Then why has this person's skill improved so much? Even if I go up, I'm not sure that I can win. Kim Yangkwon gritted his teeth and said, It must be that toy boy's trick. Last time, we were also defeated by him. At this time he felt very strange. It was obvious that Qin Haodong had not even been on the ring, but their Taekwondo club had been defeated by this person one after another. Kim Ji-hyun looked at Qin Haodong, who was hugging women on both sides. She had seen this man in the video last Friday. With just a few words of advice, the Huaxia Martial Arts Club had defeated the Taekwondo Club. This kind of magical ability was really amazing. Now she saw Qin Haodong in person, but she couldn't see any aura of a warrior. If it was really him who had improved Zhou Tao's cultivation from the overt power to the covert power in only 2 days, how powerful would this person be? If she knew that Qin Haodong had only used 2 hours to improve Zhou Tao from the 8th level of the overt power to the 3rd level of the covert power, she didn't know how surprised she would be. Kim Ji-sung cried, Sister, you are too cautious. If that guy hadn't cheated, I wouldn't have lost. You must be able to defeat him. I'll give it a try. At this point, Kim Ji-hyun could only choose to fight on the ring. Zhou Tao stood on the ring and saw a super beauty coming up. He smiled playfully and said, Beauty, are you here to give me flowers or ask for my autograph? Do you want to pursue me because I'm so handsome? Cut the crap. I want to challenge you. Kim Ji-hyun said, and made a taekwondo starting gesture. Zhou Tao said, "Is there no one in your country? How can you let a woman come up? I never hit a woman. If you don't want to fight, you will admit defeat. Well, I'll make an exception for you." After Zhou Tao said that, he made a boxing gesture of 8 extremes boxing. Kim Ji-hyun didn't talk nonsense. Her steps were like butterflies arranging flowers. In the blink of an eye, she came to Zhou Tao. Then, with a sharp whistling sound, she kicked Zhou Tao's face hard with her slender legs. Zhou Tao was secretly shocked. This woman's cultivation was even higher than Kim Ji-sung's. Judging from the strength of this kick, it was no worse than a man's. He quickly lowered his head and dodged the kick. However, Kim Ji-hyun's change of moves was extremely fast. After kicking in the air, she did not withdraw her leg. Instead, she drew a beautiful arc in the air and turned it into a side kick to his chest. Zhou Tao used an iron bridge, leaned back 90 degrees, and dodged the kick again. Kim Ji-hyun's left leg fell, and with the help of the momentum, her body flew 360 degrees in the air, and her right leg chopped down. Oh my God, this little girl is really powerful. As soon as Zhou Tao raised his head, he saw another kick coming. It was impossible to dodge, so he could only punch up with both fists and take the kick head-on. When the fists and legs collided, he was shaken back 2 or 3 steps. He was secretly shocked by Kim Ji-hyun's skillful moves. If it hadn't been for the devil training of the divine mercenaries last night, he might have been defeated by this little girl. Then the two of them fought together. Although Kim Ji-hyun's cultivation was 1 level lower, she had practiced for many years, had rich fighting experience, and her moves were exquisite. For a time, she was on par with Zhou Tao. Only then did Zhou Tao put away his contempt, calmed down, and slowly exerted his advantage in cultivation. After 10 minutes, he slowly became familiar with Kim Ji-hyun's moves, and gradually began to gain the upper hand. Admit defeat, beauty. Otherwise, I'll really have to destroy a flower. If you have the ability, defeat me first. How could Kim Ji-hyun give up so easily? She accelerated the speed of her attack. Zhou Tao was a little embarrassed. Facing a beauty like Kim Ji-hyun, he was reluctant to attack her face, and he felt that her chest and buttocks were not suitable. Although he had the advantage, it was not easy to win. Finally, he found a suitable opportunity and slapped Kim Ji-hyun on the back, sending her flying into the air and hitting the guardrail next to her with a bang. Chapter 540. Zhou Tao only used 30% of his strength in this punch, so Kim Ji-hyun was only sent flying and did not suffer any serious injuries. She put her hands on the guardrail, stood up, turned around, and said, "I give up." As soon as she said that, the whole audience was in an uproar again. Everyone could see that this woman was the most powerful helper Kim Yang-kwon had invited. Now even she gave up, which meant that Taekwondo had lost to the Huaxia Martial Arts Club again. After winning the competition again, Zhou Tao's face was full of pride. He stepped forward and said, "Beauty, are you interested? Leave your phone number, and we can communicate more in the future." But before he finished speaking, he saw Kim Ji-hyun jump down from the ring, but she did not return to her side. Instead, she stepped in front of Qin Haodong. Zhou Tao suddenly widened his eyes and said, "What the F***ck? The Grandmaster is the Grandmaster after all." He just sat there without moving, and the girls took the initiative to run over. His ability to pick up girls is better than mine. It seems that I not only have to learn kung fu from him in the future, but also the ability to pick up girls. Kim Ji-hyun said to Qin Haodong, "Can I have a word with you?" "What's the matter?" Qin Haodong took this opportunity to stand up, but the two women held him tightly. After trying twice, he finally gave up. "Does it have anything to do with you that the cultivation of the person on the stage improved so fast? Did you teach him?" Qin Haodong said, "He stayed with me for a night yesterday. I had nothing to do, so I gave him some advice." Kim Ji-hyun's beautiful eyes widened in an instant. "Do you mean that he improved so much in just one night?" She was known as a genius girl in choreo. Kim Ji-sung's pride was on the surface, but her pride was in her heart. She had never been convinced by anyone for so many years. But the young man in front of her didn't look older than her. He could defeat her after only one night of teaching Zhou Tao. She had no choice but to be convinced of his cultivation. Qin Haodong looked at her and said with a smile, I heard that most of the women in your country look the same. But you seem to be a little special. You haven't had any surgery. It's all natural. Kim Jihyun didn't change the topic with Qin Haodong's words. She asked again, What's your cultivation? Qin Haodong smiled and said, Beauty, it's not polite to ask that. It's like I asked you about your measurements. Can you tell me? He had just met this woman for the first time. Of course, he wouldn't reveal his background, so he counterattacked. However, to his surprise, Kim Jihyun said without hesitation, chest measurement 82, waist measurement 54, hip measurement 87. A devilish figure. Qin Haodong looked at her body a few more times. It seemed that she was not lying. She had practiced martial arts since she was a child, so her figure was not only curvy, but also had a unique beauty. Can you tell me now? Kim Jihyun persistently asked. Qin Haodong said, My cultivation is quite powerful anyway. Then can I become your disciple? Qin Haodong immediately shook his head. I dare not accept you as my disciple. Why? Are you afraid that your woman will be jealous? Qin Haodong glanced at Li Meiyu, who was full of killing intent, and Li Jiumei, who was full of ridicule. He smiled awkwardly and said, It has nothing to do with this. The key is that people of Koryo are too terrible. If I accept you as my disciple today, hundreds of years later, I will probably be your disciple. Many cultures in your country were originally inherited from Huaxia. Now what do you think? I don't need to learn them again, do I? After he said this, the people around immediately laughed, and even Li Meiyu's stiff face showed a smile. Kim Jihyun said, I'm not that kind of person, and I won't do anything to deceive my master. It's just that there are many people like that in your country. They can do anything. As long as they see something good, they will take it. Kim Jihyun thought for a moment, bit her lip and said, As long as you are willing to teach me martial arts, I can be your girlfriend. Qin Haodong quickly said, That's even more impossible. Don't you see? I'm too busy. And I don't dare to ask you to be my girlfriend. You people of Koryo always steal other people's things. Once I have a relationship with you, I may become a person of your country. At that time, our ancestors will climb out of their graves and fight with me. The people around burst into laughter again, and Kim Jihyun's face turned red. She said, What on earth do you want to teach me Huaxia martial arts? I can't do anything. Qin Haodong said, You said that this is Huaxia martial arts. If I teach it to you, it may become Koryo's. You are prejudiced, Qin Haodong said. Is it prejudice? Well, when your country publicly admits that the Dragon Boat Festival is Huaxia's, Chuyuan is Huaxia's, Chinese is not something that you use, and the Compendium of Materia Medica is borrowed from Huaxia, then I will accept you as my disciple, and teach you whatever you want to learn. Yes, if you want to learn Huaxia's things, you have to return what you have stolen first. First admit that Chu Yuan is Huaxia's and Confucius is Huaxia's. No, you can't teach anything to the people of Koryo. Otherwise, it will all be theirs. Qin Haodong's words made the people around feel happy, and they all shouted together. At this moment, several neon people in karate uniforms came in from the door. The leader was a man in his 20s with a mustache. He went straight to the ring and shouted to everyone under the stage. What bullshit Huaxia martial arts? What bullshit taekwondo? They can't compare with our neon karate. Anyone who is not convinced can come up to challenge us. Zhou Tao knew this man. He was the president of the Karate Association of Shanghai Medical College, Mitsui Jiro. However, this man had always been low-key, and his cultivation was much lower than that of Qin Haodong and Kim Yangquan. He was barely at the 5th or 6th level of overt power. Today, he suddenly ran to the stage and shouted. He even challenged Huaxia Kung Fu and Taekwondo together. Kim Yangquan had just lost today's game, and he was so angry that he had nowhere to vent his anger. Seeing Mitsui Jiro belittling Taekwondo, he immediately shouted, How dare you be so arrogant here with your karate? If you have the ability, fight with me. Mitsui Jiro sneered and said, You were just beaten like a dog by the Huaxia people. What are you shouting for? If you want to challenge me, you can. Today my brother Mitsui Aina is here. If you are not convinced, just come up to the stage, and I will show you what authentic neon karate is. After that, he turned around and left the stage. Another neon man in a karate uniform came up to the stage. It was Mitsui Aina, Mitsui Jiro's brother. Qin Haodong frowned slightly. This guy had reached the 6th level of covert power. As long as he made a little more progress, he could become a superior ninja of neon. In the stands, Zheng Hongda said, "Is this the last move you prepared?" Sun Jin said with a smile, "Of course. How can I bet all my trump cards on those guys? It turns out that they are really disappointing. They don't even have the qualification to let Qin Haodong come up to the stage." Mitsui Aina stood in the ring and glanced at the crowd contemptuously. He said in stiff Huaxia language, "I'm standing here today. If you have the ability, you can defeat me. Isn't it just neon karate? What's there to be arrogant about? Let me do it." A figure jumped onto the ring. It was Kim Ji-sung, who had just been beaten down. This guy's injury was not too serious. After resting for a while, he had almost recovered. However, he had nowhere to vent his anger, so he wanted to vent it on Mitsui Aina. Mitsui Aina glanced at Kim Ji-sung disdainfully and said, "Useless thing. You have just been beaten like that. I really don't know who gave you the courage to challenge the warriors of neon. You're courting death. Take this." Kim Ji-sung shouted, and his right leg flew up into the air. Like a huge long whip, he slapped Mitsui Aina's head fiercely. "You're just a grain of rice. How dare you shine?" Mitsui Aina seemed to have studied Huaxia culture very well. After using an idiom, his right leg also flew up fiercely. It was a whip kick against a whip kick. Bang! Crack! Ah! Several kinds of sounds were mixed together. Then Kim Ji-sung flew back like a broken sack, and his right leg had turned into a V-shape. Qin Haodong shook his head. There was no suspense in this kind of competition between the 1st level of covert power and the 6th level of covert power. However, this guy was really ruthless and directly broke Kim Ji-sung's leg. "Brother!" Seeing that Kim Ji-sung was injured, Kim Ji-hyun rushed over and helped him up from the ground. Zhou Tao, who had just walked down from the stage, said, "Boss, I'll go up and teach this guy a lesson." Qin Haodong pushed Li Jiumei and Li Meiyu away, grabbed his arm and said, "You're too weak. You're no match for this guy. Let me do it." After that, he stepped toward the ring. In the stands, Zheng Hongda said, "Is this the last move you've prepared?" Sun Jin said proudly, "How about it? Did you force Chen to come up to the stage?" Zheng Hongda nodded and said, "Yes, he's a master. Where did you find him?" Sun Jin said, "There's nothing that can't be done with money. It cost me 10 million yuan to hire this guy." Zheng Hongda said, "This guy is really powerful, but aren't you afraid that he'll be too powerful and directly destroy Qin Haodong?" Sun Jin said with a smile, "Isn't that better? You can directly destroy Qin Haodong, and you won't have to do it." "But that's impossible. If he only had that little ability, he wouldn't have scared my old man like that. Although he didn't do anything in our Sun family. According to the speculation of the experts in our family, this guy's cultivation is at least above the supreme power realm. So if we want to defeat him, it's up to you, young Master Zheng." Zheng Hongda said, "Don't worry, I've already prepared people. They're waiting outside. When the time is right, they'll come in and arrest him." Qin Haodong didn't know this. He walked up to the ring step by step, attracting the attention of all the people present. Many people knew that he was an expert, and many people knew that he was very powerful. But no one knew where his true strength lay. Now they could finally see him make a move. Everyone was looking forward to him teaching this arrogant Japanese a lesson. When he came to Mitsui Aina, Qin Haodong said, "I'll give you a chance. Now bow your head and apologize, and then get out of here immediately." "Boy, how dare you talk to me like this? Are you tired of living?" Mitsui Aina said arrogantly, "Since you're here, let's do it. I promise I won't kill you." After that, he raised his leg and kicked Qin Haodong's head hard with a karate horizontal kick. The kick was so powerful that it whistled through the air. If Qin Haodong was kicked, He would lose half his life even if he didn't die. Chin Haodong's expression turned cold. This Japanese guy was really ruthless. He had to teach him a lesson. Thinking of this, he lifted his right leg slightly and kicked at Mitsui Ayane's leg. Bang! Crack! The sound of a broken leg rang out again. This was simply a replay of the scene where Mitsui Aina had just kicked Kim Ji-sung. His calf had also been kicked by Chin Haodong. Chapter 541. Just now, Mitsui Aina had kicked Kim Ji-sung's calf and was proud of himself. Unexpectedly, just a few minutes later, his calf was broken by Chin Haodong. After a short silence, the audience burst into warm applause. Many people guessed that Chin Haodong was a master, but they didn't expect him to be so powerful. Lee Jiumei looked at his tall and straight figure, and her eyes were full of splendor. No one knew what she was thinking. Mitsui Aina held his injured calf and kept wailing and rolling on the arena. This time, he came to Huaxia with a business delegation from Neon to participate in the business summit in Shanghai. Last night, Mitsui Jiro found him and said that he would go to the Shanghai Medical College to fight and show the power of Neon Taekwondo. He could also get 10 million yuan. Of course, he would not refuse such a good thing, so he sneaked out. Originally, he thought that there would be no masters among these students, and he could play whatever he wanted. But he didn't expect that the young man in front of him was so good that he had no ability to resist. Kim Ji-sung was just about to leave the Taekwondo club with the help of Kim Yang-kwon, but he saw the scene in the arena. He couldn't help but open his mouth in shock, and his heart was in turmoil. Mitsui Aina had broken his leg with one kick, and Mitsui Aina was like a child in front of Chin Haodong. How big was the gap between him and Chin Haodong? It was unimaginable. Wouldn't it mean that Chin Haodong could break his meridians with a single leg hair? It was the first time that Zhou Tao had seen Chin Haodong fight, and he was extremely excited. His grandmaster was really amazing. If he could have half of his cultivation, he would be satisfied. Sun Jin and Zheng Hongda sat on the stage. After the shock, a trace of ruthlessness flashed across their faces. Zheng Hongda picked up his mobile phone and sent a message. Soon, 7 or 8 policemen appeared at the door of the club and rushed straight to the arena. The leader was a middle-aged policeman in his 40s. After checking Mitsui Ayane's injury, he turned to Chin Haodong and said, "I'm Pan Shiji, the captain of the criminal police team in Xiqing district. Now you are suspected of intentional injury. Come back to the police station with me for investigation." Zhou Tao immediately jumped onto the arena and said to Pan Shiji, "What are you doing? We are fighting here. It's normal for some injuries. Why do you arrest him?" Pan Shiji said coldly, "We are enforcing the law. We don't care if you are having a martial arts competition or not." Chin Haodong's face immediately darkened. Pan Shiji was the captain of the crime squad in Xiqing district, and the medical college was in Dongqing district. Not to mention his cross-border law enforcement. It was impossible for him to catch up by plane if he hadn't prepared in advance. Therefore, this was obviously a trap aimed at him. If he took out the certificate of an elder of the Xianyuan Pavilion, he could immediately solve the immediate predicament, but that would give the mastermind behind the scenes an advantage. Maybe that guy would make some evil moths. Since the other party had set up a trap, then he would make it bigger. He stopped the young master of the Zhou family who was about to explode. This is normal law enforcement. Don't make things difficult for him. Zhou Tao said anxiously. But, Chin Haodong said, "No buts. We'll listen to the arrangement of the police." Pan Shiji secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was also afraid of causing public anger here. Once these students were angered, it would really be difficult to deal with. Seeing that Chin Haodong gave in, he waved his hand to the policeman behind him and said, "Cuff him and take him away." 2 policemen stepped forward and handcuffed Chin Haodong. At this moment, Kim Ji-hyun jumped onto the ring, stopped Pan Shiji and said, "Wait a minute, it's also a competition, and his leg was also broken. Why did you only take Mr. Chin away? My brother's leg was also broken just now. Why didn't you take the murderer away with you?" Pan Shiji said, He is from Neon, so we can't arrest him for the time being. Qin Haodong said with a smile. Captain Pan, you really solved the case quickly. You didn't even ask a word, and you knew that this guy was from Neon. I really admire you. Pan Shiji was embarrassed. He knew that he had spilled the beans in a hurry. He quickly waved his hand to the two policemen and said, Take him away. Qin Haodong smiled at Kim Ji-hyun and said, Don't worry, I'll be fine. Although he hated people from Koryo, this little girl could stand up for him at a critical time, which left him a good impression. He followed Pan Shiji into the police car and drove away from the medical college in a flash. At the Taekwondo club, Sun Jin and Zheng Hongda looked at each other and smiled, their eyes full of pride. In particular, Sun Jin was secretly proud. He thought to himself, no matter how good your skills are, you are still played by me in the end. When you go to prison, don't think about coming out again in this life. He said, Mr. Zheng, we have nothing to do anyway. Why don't we go and watch the fun together? Zheng Hongda nodded and said jokingly, Okay, let's go and see how this great master pleads guilty and accepts the law. He was also very satisfied with what had happened today. After he dealt with Qin Haodong, no one would dare to provoke Li Jiumei in the future. She was his woman, his exclusive property, and he would never allow others to touch her. They left the club proudly, but Qin Haodong's classmates were in a mess. Seeing him being taken away, many people became at a loss. Nalin Wushuang immediately called Nalin Wuxia, and Zhou Tao also called his sister Zhou Xinju without hesitation. Everyone showed their own abilities and tried their best to save Qin Haodong. In the crime squad of the Dongqing district, after receiving a call from Nalin Wushuang, Nalin Wuxia immediately drove to the crime squad of the Xiqing district. After leaving the medical college of the Devil clan, Pan Shiji was completely relieved. He was a member of the Zheng family, so he took the risk to go to the Dongqing district to do something for the young master of the Zheng family. Now it seemed that this matter was not difficult. It was just to deal with a student. After it was done, the young master of the Zheng family would definitely treat him well. It could be said that this was a rare good job. After returning to the crime squad, he got out of the car happily. When he looked up, he saw Nalin Wuxia with an angry face. He was stunned at first, and then said, Captain Nalin, what brings you to our crime squad of the Xiqing district? Nalin Wuxia didn't want to talk nonsense with him at all. She pointed to Qin Haodong, who had been taken out of the car, and said, Captain Pan, let me ask you, where did this person come from? Pan Shiji's expression changed, and he said with a cold face, Captain Nalin, we, the crime squad of the Xiqing district, handle a case and report to you, right? Nalin Wuxia sneered and said, What? Don't you dare to say it? Captain Pan, let me ask you, is the Shanghai Medical College under the jurisdiction of your team? Pan Shiji's expression froze. In terms of territorial jurisdiction, he had indeed overstepped the law. However, after being a policeman for so many years, he was experienced after all. Soon he said with a smile, Captain Nalin, I just went to the Shanghai Medical College to do something, and I happened to come across this case. As policemen, we can't just ignore it, so I brought him back. Nalin Wuxia still said with a straight face, Well, in that case, Captain Pan, please hand over this case to our crime squad of the Dongqing district. Pan Shiji still wanted to punish Qin Haodong and make a contribution. How could he hand him over to Nalin Wuxia? He said, Captain Nalin, I'm afraid this is not appropriate. Nalin Wuxia argued, Captain Pan, what's wrong with it? This is originally a case of our Dongqing district, and it's not your Xiqing district's turn to handle it. Pan Shiji's face became cold this time. Captain Nalin, don't think that I don't know that you have an unclear relationship with this guy. In order to prevent you from playing favorites, it's more appropriate to leave this case to our Xiqing district. Nalin Wuxia sneered and said, Am I playing favorites or are you playing favorites? You even know the relationship between the suspect and me so quickly. Is it possible that Captain Pan can predict that Qin Haodong is going to commit a crime? Or is there something else? Pan Shiji didn't expect Nalin Wuxia's words to be so sharp, and he was speechless for a moment. Zheng Hongda and Sun Jin's car arrived at the crime squad first. They didn't get out of the car, but sat in the car and observed everything in the yard. Zheng Hongda said, "Young master son, you're right. Qin Haodong really has a special relationship with this woman. I can't believe he came here to ask for her." A look of jealousy flashed in Sun Jin's eyes. He said, "I don't know what kind of evil tricks this guy has used to cheat so many women, and all of them are the best." Zheng Hongda nodded and said, "This woman is really good. She is beautiful and capable. It's rare." Sun Jin said, "Is Captain Pan reliable? Will he hand her over?" Zheng Hongda smiled proudly and said, "Don't worry. He's a member of our Zheng family. He won't let her go without my order." Sun Jin said, "Then I'm relieved. Although this woman looks very powerful, we have her. She won't take her away." Zheng Hongda said, "Of course not. This is my place." As they said, Pan Shiji had no intention of handing her over. He said, "Captain Naylan, even if you tell me all the lies today, I'll never hand her over to you." Naylan Wuxia's face turned cold. "Captain Pan, since you don't follow the rules, don't blame me for not following the rules." After that, she strode toward Qin Haodong. Sun Jin's expression changed. What is this woman going to do? Is she going to take him away? Naylan Wuxia's action was beyond everyone's expectation. Before the two policemen who were guarding Qin Haodong could react, they had been pushed to the sides. Pan Shiji suddenly became furious and shouted to his men, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take her back." The policemen answered, and were about to go forward to take her back. However, Naylan Wuxia grabbed Qin Haodong's handcuffs and gently pulled them. The handcuffs made of pure steel broke into two pieces and fell to the ground. What the hell? Is she still a human? They who were about to take action were all frightened. They knew how strong the handcuffs were, but they were like tofu in Naylan Wuxia's hands. What was the use of going up against her? If they were not careful, their bones would be broken. Pan Shiji was also shocked. Originally, he was very dissatisfied with the new young female captain of the Dongqing district. He thought that she must have used some special connections. Now he knew that Naylan Wuxia was so powerful. But no matter what, he couldn't hand her over. He shouted, "Naylan Wuxia, do you know what you're doing? Is it against the rules to take her back? How are you? Are you all right?" Although she knew Qin Haodong's skills, Naylan Wuxia still asked with concern, ignoring Pan Shiji next to her. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I'm fine. These small fish and shrimps can't hurt me." Naylan Wuxia looked back at Pan Shiji and said, "If it's against the rules, you came to our Dongqing district to catch her first. You can't blame me. Hurry up and hand her over, or I won't be polite." Pan Shiji said and pulled out the pistol at his waist. Chapter 542. Naylan Wuxia did not look afraid at all. She looked at the pistol in Pan Shiji's hand coldly, and said in a cold voice, "You dare to pull out a gun at me?" Pan Shiji said excitedly, "Give him back to me. Don't force me." Naylan Wuxia said indifferently, "I bet you don't dare to shoot." Pan Shiji suddenly raised his pistol and shouted at Naylan Wuxia, "Give him back to me." Naylan Wuxia said with a murderous look, "What if I don't?" She had reached the 5th level of covert power. With full concentration, she could completely avoid shooting her vital parts. As long as Pan Shiji dared to shoot at her, she would immediately kill him. The policemen next to them were scared silly. The captains of the two criminal police teams in Dongqing District and Xiqing District had never pulled out their guns at each other before. Just when the scene was in a deadlock, a siren suddenly sounded. 4 or 5 police cars drove into the yard of the criminal police unit in a row. After the car stopped, Director Dong Biqing jumped out of the car, followed by Zhou Xinju, the eldest daughter of the Zhou family. "Put the gun down, Pan Shiji. Are you crazy? How dare you pull out a gun at your own people?" After getting out of the car, Dong Biqing immediately flew into a rage when he saw the scene in front of him. He waved his hand to the 2 policemen behind him and said, "Take his gun away." The 2 policemen stepped forward and took Pan Shiji's pistol. Seeing the director coming, Pan Shiji naturally could not insist anymore. After handing over the pistol, he said with an aggrieved face, "Director, you can't blame me for this. Nalan Wuxia has gone too far. She even came to my criminal police unit to steal people. While speaking, he glanced at Zhou Xinju, who was standing next to him. He naturally knew the eldest daughter of the Zhou family, but he didn't know why Zhou Xinju brought Dong Biqing here. Could it be that they were here for that pretty boy? He was acting according to Zheng Hongda's orders. Zheng Hongda only told him that Qin Haodong was a college student with good skills and had a deep relationship with Nalan Wuxia in Dongqing district. He didn't know much else. If he knew that Qin Haodong's daddy's security company was above the three big families and had a deep relationship with Zhou Xinju, he would not have arrested him so calmly. Be asterisk starred, you can't pull out a gun on your own people. Dong Biqing said angrily. You two tell me, what the hell is going on? Nalan Wuxia said, he caught people in my jurisdiction and put handcuffs on them. I came to ask for them, but they refused. I had to take them back by myself. Pan Shiji said, this guy is a suspect. He just broke someone's leg in Shanghai Medical College. Moreover, he has a special relationship with Captain Nalan. Of course, I can't give him to her. Otherwise, she will probably let him go. Dong Biqing was entrusted by Zhou Xinju to save Qin Haodong today. He said with a cold face, you said that he broke the law. Where's the evidence? Pan Shiji suddenly had a bad feeling. From Dong Biqing's tone, it was obvious that he was on Qin Haodong's side. He said, Director, the Japanese friend who was injured by him is being treated in the hospital. I'll go to him later to collect evidence. You didn't even get the basic evidence, and you put handcuffs on him. Is that appropriate? Dong Biqing said, this is not a big case. Let him go first, and then hand over the case to the criminal police unit of Dongqing district. You can use a gun at will. Yes. In the face of the director of the Public Security Bureau, Pan Shiji naturally couldn't resist, and could only agree. At this moment, a voice came from the side. Director Dong, you can't let him go. I have evidence here. Dong Biqing looked in the direction of the voice, and saw Zheng Hongda and Sun Jin walking over side by side. The two of them had been watching from the car. When they saw Zhou Xinju bring Dong Biqing over, they knew that Pan Shiji couldn't stand it anymore, so they got out of the car. Seeing the two people appear, Zhou Xinju's expression changed slightly. Sun Jin's status in the Sun family was a little lower, but Zheng Hongda was the third generation of the Zheng family and the grandson of the family master. Today's matter might not be easy to handle. Sure enough, when Dong Biqing saw the two people, his tone immediately eased a lot. He couldn't afford to offend Zhou Xinju, nor could he afford to offend the Sun family and the Zheng family. Young Master Zheng, young Master Sun, you're here too? Zheng Hongda said. Director Dong, we are also students of the Shanghai Medical College. We happened to be at the scene when the crime happened. We saw Qin Haodong kick our Japanese friend's calf. As college students and good citizens, of course, we have to stand up and testify. Sun Jin glanced at Qin Haodong, who was silent, and said proudly, yes, we can testify for this case, so we can't let him go. Zheng Hongda added, looking at Captain Nalan's performance just now, his relationship with the suspect is very unusual. In order to ensure the fairness of the case, I suggest that Director Dong hand it over to the Xiqing District Brigade. Dong Biqing was suddenly in a dilemma. He had never thought that one day he would be sandwiched between the three big families. How could he choose? Zhou Xinju took 2 steps forward and said, now we haven't even seen the victim. It's a bit inappropriate to arrest him based on your one-sided statement. Sun Jin said, I knew you would say that. The victim is being treated in the hospital. He'll be here soon. Zhou Xinju sneered and said, young Master Sun, how do you know the victim's situation so clearly? Is there any connection between you? Sun Jin said, what connection do I have with the victim? Will it affect the case? Can't we be friends? Zheng Hongda said to Dong Biqing, Director Dong, since the victim will be here soon, please wait for a few minutes. Otherwise, this case will not be easy to handle. In the face of the three big families who were competing, Dong Biqing could not make a decision directly. He could only say, well, let's wait. We'll talk about it after the case is investigated. At the Shanghai Central Hospital, Mitsui Jiro hurriedly brought Mitsui Ina there. Before they entered the outpatient department, Mitsui Ina's cell phone rang. After taking a look at the phone number, Mitsui Ina quickly pressed the answer button. Although he was in pain, he still said respectfully, "Master, what can I do for you?" A cold voice came from the other side of the phone. "You are not allowed to go out at will during the summit. Have you forgotten?" Cold sweat suddenly broke out on Mitsui Ina's forehead. "Master, I just went to the Shanghai Medical College to see my brother." The person on the other side of the phone said, "I don't want to listen to your explanation. Get back here right now." Mitsui Ina looked at his broken leg and said awkwardly, "Master, someone just broke my leg at school. I'm now being treated in the hospital." "What? Someone dared to break your leg?" The person on the phone said, "Tell me your address." Mitsui Ina did not dare to disobey that person's order. He quickly sent his location. After hanging up the phone, Mitsui Jiro said excitedly, "Big brother, is the master coming?" Mitsui Ina nodded. Mitsui Jiro said again, "The master will definitely seek justice for you, big brother. I believe that guy will be severely punished." Mitsui Ina said, "That's true. The master is the most protective of our family members. He will definitely be furious when he sees me beaten like this. Maybe he will personally deal with that guy." Mitsui Jiro said, "Big brother, I heard that the master has reached the level of 3rd grade Saint Ninja. Is that true?" Mitsui Ina said proudly, "Of course. If the master hadn't reached the level of 3rd grade Saint Ninja, how could our Yagyu family have the glory we have today?" About 5 minutes later, 7 or 8 people appeared in front of the emergency room. The leader was a tall neon woman. She came to Mitsui Ina, looked at his broken leg and asked, "Tell me what happened." "Master, I went to the Shanghai Medical College to see my brother. I saw someone belittling our neon karate, so I went on stage to compete with him. I didn't expect that guy to break my leg." Mitsui Ina said with an aggrieved expression, "Master, I've embarrassed you, but please seek justice for me. You must make that guy pay the price." The neon woman was calm at first. When she heard Qin Haodong's name, her expression immediately changed. She asked in a cold voice, "What's the name of the man who broke your leg?" "His name is Qin Haodong. He's a very arrogant guy." Mitsui Ina originally wanted to slander Qin Haodong more, but before he could finish speaking, he felt a pain on his face. A series of big slaps had landed on his face. He was completely stunned, and looked at the neon woman with a confused face. The neon woman was Yagyu Yukime, the master of the Yagyu family. When she heard that her men had offended her master, she immediately said with a murderous look, "Go and win Mr. Qin's forgiveness now. Otherwise there will only be one result, and that is death." The Mitsui brothers almost peed their pants. They had never dreamed that this young man from Huaxia would have a relationship with their master, and it seemed to be very unusual. Mitsui Ina said with an embarrassed expression, "Master, Mr. Qin has been arrested by the Huaxia police." "What did you say?" Hearing that Qin Haodong had been arrested, Yagyu Yukime's body suddenly burst out with a powerful momentum, which made the Mitsui brothers breathless. "Tell me what's going on. If you dare to hide anything, I will immediately destroy your family." The Mitsui family was not a direct descendant of the Yagyu family, but a subsidiary family of theirs. Seeing that Yagyu Yukime was so angry, the Mitsui brothers were scared out of their wits. They no longer dared to hide anything, and told her everything about the deal between Sun Jin and Mitsui Jiro. In the end, Mitsui Jiro said tremblingly, "Master, we really didn't know that Mr. Qin was your friend. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it." As the master of the Yagyu family, Yagyu Yukime's mind was naturally not simple. She immediately understood that this was a trap set up by Sun Jin for Qin Haodong. "You two go to the Huaxia police station now, and explain what happened to your leg. No matter if it was broken by a fall or a kick. No matter what, you can't say that it was Mr. Qin who broke it. If Mr. Qin is arrested and sent to prison, then you two will commit suicide to apologize." "Yes, master." The Mitsui brothers knew that they had caused a terrible disaster, so they quickly agreed. At this moment, Mitsui Jiro's phone rang. It was Sun Jin, who asked him to take Mitsui Aina to the crime squad in Shicheng district immediately to testify. Under Yagyu Yukaim's murderous eyes, Mitsui Aina did not care about treating his injury. He dragged a broken leg into the car and hurried to the crime squad in Shicheng district with Mitsui Jiro. Seeing them get out of the car, Sun Jin immediately shouted excitedly, "The injured is here. Director Dong, look, Mr. Mitsui's leg hasn't been treated yet, but he came to testify. It can be seen how angry he is about this case." Zheng Hongda then said, "Director Dong, the victim is a friend of Neon. We must treat this case carefully." At this moment, Mitsui Aina jumped over with the help of Mitsui Jiro and shouted, "My leg injury has nothing to do with others. I broke it myself." Chapter 543. Did you hear that? Mr. Mitsui has already come forward to testify that his leg was broken by himself. Speaking of this, Sun Jin suddenly came to his senses. He turned to Mitsui Aina and said, "Mr. Mitsui, did you say something wrong? This leg was obviously broken by Qin Haodong. How can you say that you broke it by yourself?" Mitsui Aina said indignantly, "Nonsense. I broke my leg by myself. Who said that it was broken? Mr. Qin is a good man. How could he break my leg? What the hell? What's going on?" Sun Jin was confused. If it weren't for the broken leg, he would have thought that this Japanese guy had been beaten to the point that his brain was broken. The people around were also surprised, including Qin Haodong. They didn't know what was wrong with Mitsui Aina. Why did he speak up for him? Mitsui Jiro also said, "Officers, my brother really broke his leg by himself. I saw it with my own eyes. It has nothing to do with Mr. Qin. You can't wrongly accuse a good man. Let him go quickly." Dong Bicheng breathed a sigh of relief. Since the victim did not come forward to testify, things would be easy. He said, "Since it's a misunderstanding, let Mr. Qin go." "Wait a minute." Zheng Hongda stood up and said, "I suspect that Mitsui was threatened at the scene, so he didn't dare to tell the truth. But it doesn't matter. I have evidence in my hands." As he spoke, he took out his mobile phone and clicked on a video. It happened to be the scene where Qin Haodong broke Mitsui Ayane's leg with one kick. "Director Dong, the evidence is very clear. Mr. Mitsui's leg was broken by Qin Haodong. There is no objection." Before Dong Bicheng could say anything, Mitsui Aina immediately shouted angrily, "Who are you? How did my leg break? What does it have to do with you? I don't need you to say anything. Get out of here." If it weren't for his broken leg, he would have kicked this guy to death. If Qin Haodong was really arrested and put in prison, then he and Mitsui Jiro would have to commit suicide to apologize. After all, the master of the Yagyu Yukaim family was not a joke. Mitsui Jiro also realized this and roared angrily, "What does it have to do with you whether my brother broke his own leg or not?" Zheng Hongda was stunned by the scolding, but he quickly calmed down and said to Dong Bicheng, "Director Dong, did you see that? The victim must have been threatened. Otherwise he would not be so emotional." This, from the bottom of his heart, Dong Bicheng wanted to help Qin Haodong, but the video in Zheng Hongda's hands was very clear. Even if Mitsui Aina wanted to deny it, he couldn't. He said to Mitsui Aina, "Sir, you've seen the video. How did this leg break?" Seeing that he couldn't deny it, Mitsui Aina could only say, "Well, I admit that this leg was broken by Mr. Qin. But at that time, we were competing in martial arts and injuries were inevitable. I can't blame anyone but myself for not being good enough. I officially announced to everyone that I won't hold Mr. Qin responsible." A sneer appeared at the corner of Sun Jin's mouth. Since Qin Haodong had admitted it, it would be easy to deal with it. He said to Dong Bicheng, "Director Dong, an injury case is not a case that can be handled through appeal. Although the victim doesn't want to pursue it for some reason, the criminal facts are clear, and Qin Haodong should be brought to justice." This, Dong Bicheng looked at Zhou Xinju awkwardly. Although his relationship with the Zhou family had improved a little, he couldn't afford to offend the Sun family and the Zheng family. At that moment, Qin Haodong said, "Since we're talking about the law, Let's be more rigorous. I heard that injury cases must have an injury identification. Otherwise, the case can't be decided. Am I right? Pan Shiji said. That's simple. We have a ready-made forensic doctor in the criminal police unit. We can immediately do an injury identification for Mr. Mitsui. Now that things had come to this, he could only stand on Zheng Hongda's side without hesitation, even if he offended Dong Biqing. Qin Haodong said, well then please do an injury identification for Mr. Mitsui. If I can do it, I will plead guilty and accept the law. If I can't, then I'm sorry. You can only let me go. No one understood what he meant. Mitsui Ayane's leg was still in front of them, and it had formed a V shape. Even without a forensic doctor, they could guess what the result of the identification would be. However, today's case was really strange. First, the two captains of the criminal police unit confronted each other. Then, the victim came forward to prove that the suspect was innocent. Now the suspect took the initiative to ask for an injury identification. What the hell was going on? Were they all crazy? Pan Shiji couldn't care less about this. He said to a young policeman next to him, go and call medical examiner Liu. The young policeman answered, turned around, and ran into the criminal police unit. Qin Haodong smiled slightly and came to Mitsui Aina. For the sake of you being aware of your mistakes and correcting them, I'll treat your injury. Okay, Mr. Qin. You can do whatever you want. With Yagyu Yukaim's instructions, Mitsui Aina did not dare to resist Qin Haodong's decision. Even if this Huaxia man wanted to torture him, he could only bear it. Qin Haodong reached out and grabbed his broken leg. He gently pulled and pushed. With a click, the two sections of the calf, which had been broken into a V shape, were connected together. Mitsui Aina gritted his teeth and was ready to bear the piercing pain. Unexpectedly, not only did the pain not intensify, but even the previous pain disappeared. Well, what's going on? Is my leg cured just like that? Seeing his intact calf, he couldn't believe his eyes. Qin Haodong said with a smile, okay, try taking 2 steps. Since the Sun family and the Zheng family, who were hiding behind the scenes, had jumped out, he was not in the mood to play anymore. He directly cured Mitsui Ayane's leg. Mitsui Ayane's face was full of horror and disbelief. He slowly put his right leg on the ground, gently used a little strength, and tried to take a few steps forward. This feeling was exactly the same as before he was injured. There was no pain, and there was nothing strange. My God, the medical skills of Huaxia are really amazing. Dr. Qin, thank you. Thank you for curing my leg. Mitsui Aina looked at Qin Haodong with admiration in his eyes. No wonder the family master valued him. He did have extraordinary skills. Qin Haodong said, don't use force for 3 days and don't use force for a week. After that you'll be fine. The others were completely dumbfounded. What was going on? If they hadn't just seen Mitsui Ayane's leg injury with their own eyes, they would have suspected that the two of them were playing a double act. The calf, which had obviously become a V shape, was completely cured in the blink of an eye. Was this still medical skills? This was simply a miracle. At this moment, a medical examiner in a white coat came over with a young policeman. Medical examiner Liu, that man's leg is broken. Captain Pan wants you to do an injury identification for him. When the young policeman said this, he suddenly felt as if his neck was being strangled. He could not go on because he saw Mitsui Aina walking back and forth on the ground. He did not look injured at all. Medical examiner Liu frowned and said, are you kidding me? Isn't this person fine? Why do we need to do an injury identification? Then he looked back at Pan Shiji and said, Captain Pan, why did you call me here? Pan Shiji came to his senses, waved his hand weakly and said, it's all right. At this time, he began to curse in his heart. What the hell was going on? Such a serious injury was cured in the blink of an eye. Why did they need to do an injury identification? Are you crazy? Are you kidding me? Of course, medical examiner Liu did not dare to say it out loud. He cursed in his heart, and then left without looking back. When Qin Haodong saw Dong Biqing, he said with a smile, Director Dong, do you think I still need to bear legal responsibility now? Dong Biqing quickly said, No. You are completely free now and can leave at any time. Since he could let Qin Haodong go, he certainly did not want to offend the Zhou family. I'm really not in a hurry to leave. I still have a debt to pay. Qin Haodong turned his head, looked at the Mitsui brothers and said, What the hell is going on? I need you to tell me clearly. Mitsui Jiro naturally did not dare to hide anything. He directly told them how Sun Jin had bribed them for 10 million yuan. He did not expect that after the warning, the Sun family would still make trouble for him. Qin Haodong looked at Sun Jin and said coldly, Is it you who wants to deal with me? Or is it your Sun family's idea? Sun Jin straightened his neck and said unyieldingly, It's me. It has nothing to do with the Sun family. You are just a toy boy. What qualifications do you have to go against our Sun family? Although I let you escape today, I'll play you to death sooner or later. In his opinion, he was in the courtyard of the criminal police unit. No matter how powerful Qin Haodong was, he would not dare to do anything to him in front of the director of the Public Security Bureau. Okay, then I'll play with you. Qin Haodong seemed to have read his mind. He took out his mobile phone with a smile and directly dialed Sun Xingtian's number. Old Sun, you have 10 minutes to come to the criminal police unit in the Xiqing district. Otherwise, I will tear down your Sun family's manor. Hey, what do you mean? Sun Xingtian was basking in the sun at home when he suddenly received a call from Qin Haodong. Before he could figure out what was going on, Qin Haodong had hung up the phone. Bastard! He grabbed the teacup next to him and smashed it on the ground. This Qin guy was too much. He wanted to tear down his own house. Was there any law? However, although he was angry, he still had to deal with the matter. He raised his hand and called the housekeeper. Prepare the car immediately. I don't care how you do it. Send me to the criminal police unit in the Xiqing district within 9 minutes. Since he had seen Qin Haodong's ruthlessness, he did not think that this young man was joking with him. Maybe he would really bring disaster to the Sun family. Soon, Sun Xingtian's stretch Lincoln sped forward on the streets of Shanghai like crazy, not caring about the red light at all. With a shrill braking sound, the Lincoln drove into the yard of the criminal police unit. Sun Xingtian looked at his watch. It had been exactly 10 minutes, so he breathed a sigh of relief. He got out of the car and saw Sun Jin next to him. He suddenly felt his heart sink, and he had a very bad feeling. At this time, Sun Jin's heart was also cold. He no longer had the arrogance and calmness from before. He had never thought that Qin Haodong could transfer his grandfather here, with just a phone call. Sun Xingtian ignored Sun Jin. He stepped in front of Qin Haodong and said, What do you want from me? Qin Haodong said to Mitsui Jiro, You tell me. Mitsui Jiro was now both afraid and respectful of Qin Haodong. He once again told him how Sun Jin had bribed them, as well as the situation where Qin Haodong was arrested and sent to the criminal police unit. Sun Xingtian's face became more and more gloomy. Generally speaking, the battles between the aristocratic families had their own scope and rules. No one would use official power to arrest people. Because a master like Qin Haodong could destroy the Sun family at any time once he was enraged, and the police would not be able to find any evidence. Chapter 544. Because of this, he had officially issued the family master's order, forbidding anyone in the family from provoking Qin Haodong. But now his precious grandson thought himself clever. Not only did he violate the family master's order, but he also used official power to arrest Qin Haodong. This was definitely a terrible disaster. Qin Haodong looked at Sun Xingtian, whose face was livid, and said, Old man Sun, do you understand? Shouldn't you give me an explanation? Bastard! Sun Xingtian raised his hand and slapped Sun Jin hard. Sun Jin staggered from the slap. He covered his swollen cheek and said, Grandpa, I'm doing this for our Sun family. T. You're setting the Sun family up. Sun Xingtian shouted to the bodyguards behind him. Come on, Sun Jin has violated the family rules. Break his legs now and drive him out of the Sun family. From today on, He has nothing to do with our Sun family. Grandpa, you can't do this. Grandpa, I'm your grandson. Sun Jin was scared silly. He didn't expect Sun Xingtian to punish him so severely. At this moment, the family rewards and the family master's throne no longer had anything to do with him. At this time, his intestines were green with regret. Why did he think he was clever and have to provoke this evil star? Sun Xingtian was not moved at all. He turned his head and shouted to the bodyguards, "What are you looking at? Do it." Dong Biqing's heart was full of shock. He had always thought that Qin Haodong relied on Zhou Xingju, but now it seemed that it was not so simple. Even the family master of the Sun family had been called over by him, without any delay. In order to appease Qin Haodong's anger, Sun Xingtian did not hesitate to break his grandson's legs. What did this young man do? How could he have such great power? But now it was a little awkward. Although Sun Xingtian was enforcing the family rules of the Sun family, this was the territory of the criminal police unit after all. He wanted to break Sun Jin's legs in front of so many policemen. Many policemen looked at each other, not knowing whether they should stop him or not. However, they soon got the answer. When they saw Dong Biqing turn around and pretend that he didn't see or hear anything, they immediately knew what to do. They all turned their heads and didn't look at Sun Jin anymore. Crack! Crack! After two crisp sounds, there was a heart-wrenching scream. Sun Jin's legs were completely broken, and then he was thrown out by the bodyguards. After dealing with Sun Jin, Sun Xingtian came to Qin Haodong, lowered his head and said, "Mr. Qin, I'm really sorry. This is a misunderstanding." Sun Jin acted on his own. "It has nothing to do with our Sun family." Qin Haodong said lightly, "I'll let it go this time, but I don't want similar things to happen again. Otherwise, the Sun family will bear the consequences." "Don't worry, Mr. Qin. This kind of thing will never happen again." After Sun Xingtian finished speaking, he got into the car and left the crime squad compound with his men. At this time, he was extremely aggrieved and his eyes were filled with hatred. The dignified Sun family's patriarch had been forced into such a state by a young man. "Brat, just you wait. I'll make you pay the price sooner or later." After the Sun family left, Qin Haodong turned to look at Dong Biqing and said, "Director Dong, it's clear now that Captain Pan didn't cross the line by accident. He colluded with Sun Jin. What do you think we should do?" Zhou Xingju said, "Haodong, don't worry. Uncle Dong will definitely deal with it impartially." Pan Shiji's heart sank. These two people were echoing each other, and it was very likely that his career would be ruined. He couldn't help but turn his head to look at Zheng Hongda, hoping that his master could help him out a little. However, he was disappointed. Zheng Hongda seemed to be admiring the clouds in the sky. He didn't even look at him, nor did he have the slightest intention of helping him. In fact, Zheng Hongda couldn't be blamed. The situation was right in front of him. Even if he wanted to help, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Moreover, Pan Shiji was just a dog in his eyes. He was nothing at all. There was no need to pay too much for a dog. Dong Biqing looked at Pan Shiji and said sternly, "As a policeman, you can't be strict with yourself. You colluded with others to frame a college student, violated the rules, crossed the line to enforce the law, and violated the rules by using guns. I announce that you are relieved of your position as captain and expelled from the police force. You will be dealt with further for your illegal behavior." "It's over." Pan Shiji's eyes darkened and he collapsed to the ground. He knew that his life was completely over. Zheng Hongda shook his head. What happened today really disappointed him, but it didn't matter. He didn't lose too much. He stepped toward his car and was about to leave the criminal police unit. At this time, he heard someone behind him call out, "Stop, did I let you go?" The person who spoke was naturally Qin Haodong. He wouldn't easily let go of the person who had set a trap for him, even if the other party was the young master of the Zheng family. Zheng Hongda turned around and smiled at him. "What's the matter?" Qin Haodong said, "Young Master Zheng, isn't it a bit too easy for you to leave like this?" He spread his hands and said, "Qin Haodong, I admit that you have some means, but what can you do? This matter has nothing to do with me. I didn't break the law. I didn't violate the family rules. And I didn't violate the rules of the Public Security Bureau. I'm a legal good citizen. Why can't I leave? Indeed, this was where his confidence came from. Sun Jin had always been in front of this matter. And he didn't show anything. He just used Pan Shiji as a chess piece. However, as long as Pan Shiji wasn't crazy, he naturally wouldn't betray him. Otherwise, how could he survive in Shanghai in the future? Qin Haodong said, "You didn't break the law now, but it doesn't mean that you won't break the law later." Zheng Hongda said, "I'm a person with a brain. How could I do that kind of illegal thing?" But before he finished speaking, a flash of confusion suddenly flashed in his eyes. Then he rushed over crazily, grabbed the fire hydrant, and smashed it hard at Dong Biqing's car. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Before anyone could react to what was going on, he had smashed Dong Biqing's car into pieces. Dong Biqing never dreamed that the young master of the Zheng family would smash his car. He hurriedly shouted to his men, "Hurry up and catch him!" Zheng Hongda threw the fire hydrant in his hand at the police officer, who rushed over, and then rushed out of the crime squad like a madman. As he ran, he took off his clothes. By the time he rushed out of the crime squad's gate, he was already naked. Moreover, the young master of the Zheng family's physical fitness was good enough. 7 or 8 policemen couldn't catch up with him. He ran all the way to the bustling downtown of Shanghai naked. Crazy. The young master of the Zheng family is crazy. This was what everyone was thinking, but they didn't understand why Zheng Hongda, who had just been talking with confidence, suddenly went crazy and smashed the car of the director of the Public Security Bureau. What was he going to do? Was he looking for excitement? Zhou Xinju seemed to have found something. She came to Qin Haodong and whispered, "Did you do this?" Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, "I'm just standing here. I didn't do anything." He turned his head and said to Dong Biqing, "Director Dong, this guy smashed the police car in public and ran naked in the downtown area. Isn't that illegal?" Dong Biqing didn't understand what was going on, but the facts were in front of him. He could only nod and say, "It is indeed illegal." "That's good. I hope you can handle it impartially." After that, he left the crime squad with Nailan Wuxia and Zhou Xinju. After going out, he said to the two of them, "Thank you for your help today." Nailan Wuxia said, "I have something to do. I'll go first." After that, she got in the car and quickly disappeared into the traffic. She and Qin Haodong naturally didn't need to say too much. Everything was understood without words. Zhou Xinju looked at Qin Haodong with a playful face and said, "Even if I didn't come today, you would have the ability to solve this problem, right?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Anyway, you still came. I have to thank you." Zhou Xinju said, "Since the first time we met, I have been improving my evaluation of you every time, but I still underestimated you every time. You are really an interesting guy. Don't be curious about a man easily, or you will easily fall in love with him." Zhou Xinju smiled and said, "It's too late. I've already fallen in love with you. What should I do?" "That can't be helped. Who told me to be so charming?" After joking for a while, Qin Haodong said, "I still have something to do. I'll go first. I'll treat you to dinner another day." After that, he got in his car, took out his mobile phone, and dialed Yagyu Yukaim's phone number. "Are Mitsui Jiro and Mitsui Ina your people?" With his intelligence, it was not difficult for him to guess that the change in the attitude of the two Japanese people had something to do with Yagyu Yukaim. "Yes, master. They have offended you. Please punish them. Even if you kill them, it's fine. Forget it. Let bygones be bygones." Given that the Mitsui brothers behaved well later, Qin Haodong didn't intend to hold them accountable. "What's going on? When did you come to Shanghai?" Yagyu Yukaim said, "This time, Huaxia held a high-level business summit in Shanghai. I came to attend on behalf of the Yagyu family. I didn't report to master. Please punish me, master." "I told you to call me boss. There's no need to always call me master. Besides, you are a free person, not my puppet. There's no need to tell me everything." Yagyu Yukaim was silent for a while, then said, "Boss, can you come and see me? I have something to tell you." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, Well, tell me your address. I'll go there now. Yagi Yukime didn't expect him to really agree. She said excitedly, "Thank you, boss. I'll send you the address now." Qin Haodong hung up the phone and went to the Shanghai Convention and Exhibition Center building according to the address given by Yagi Yukime. It was a skyscraper about 50 floors high. The lower 10 floors were the exhibition center, which was used for holding all kinds of meetings. The upper 40 floors were 5-star hotels, which were generally used to entertain guests attending the exhibition. Qin Haodong went to a presidential suite on the 30th floor. As soon as he arrived at the door, Yagi Yukime, who was dressed in traditional Japanese clothes, opened the door and bowed to welcome him in. "Boss, welcome." Yagi Yukime put a pair of slippers in front of Qin Haodong, helped him take off his shoes, and put on the slippers. She was like a little wife waiting for her husband to return, without the slightest momentum of a family master. Qin Haodong was still somewhat not used to this kind of Japanese treatment. He said, "When did you come?" Yagi Yukime said, "Our delegation arrived in Shanghai yesterday. I wanted to finish the things at hand, and then go to see the boss. I didn't expect these two bastards to provoke you first." Qin Haodong sat on the sofa and asked, "What summit did you just say?" Yagi Yukime said, "Boss, haven't you heard of such a big thing? This time, it's a financial summit held by the most famous Haodong group in Huaxia. The standards are very high. The most well-known business groups in the world are invited." Chapter 545. Qin Haodong touched his nose and said, "I'm a doctor. I don't know much about these financial things. This group is quite interesting. Why does it have the same name as me? It should be a coincidence." Yagi Yukime said, "The Haodong group is very famous in the financial world. It belongs to one of the top consortiums in Huaxia. However, its influence is much greater than that of ordinary consortiums because it is backed by the Chu family, one of the 7 major families in the capital. Because of the strong influence of the Haodong group, this financial summit is of high standards. Groups with less than 10 billion assets are not allowed to participate at all. And it's not limited to Huaxia. There are also many international consortiums, such as the Yagyu family of Neon, the Kim family of Koryo, Maldini Jr. of M Country." She listed many financial consortiums, but Qin Haodong was not familiar with them except for Maldini Jr. Forget it. "Let's not talk about this. Why did you ask me to come here?" He really wasn't very interested in financial matters. "We'll talk about it later," Yagi Yukime said with a blush. "Master, you've been working hard all day. Would you like to take a bath first?" It was hot today. After a busy day, Qin Haodong really felt sticky. He said, "That's a good idea. I'll take a bath." Yagi Yukime said, "Master, let Yukime serve you?" Unconsciously, she changed the way she addressed him. "Forget it. I'll do it myself." Qin Haodong took the men's pajamas from Yagi Yukime and turned into the bathroom. He took off his clothes and stood under the shower head to have a good shower. Just as he was enjoying the shower, the bathroom door was suddenly opened from the outside. Qin Haodong looked back and suddenly opened his mouth in surprise. He saw Yagi Yukime standing in front of the door, but her kimono was gone. Her shoulder-length hair hung down like a waterfall, faintly covering the high curve of her chest. She had a beautiful face, jade-like skin, perfect curves, and the unique style of Neon women. It had to be said that Yagi Yukime was very attractive to any man. You, what are you doing?" Although he had slept with Yagi Yukime, and it was a particularly intense one, Qin Haodong was still not used to seeing her like this. He quickly reached out to cover his embarrassment. Yagi Yukime gently bit her lips and said gently, "Master, Yukime wants to take a bath with you." "No need, I'll do it myself." Yagi Yukime did not leave. She said with tears, "Master, do you dislike Yukime?" Qin Haodong quickly said, "Of course not. Why would I dislike you? Since you don't mind, I'll let Shueji serve you." Yagi Yukime resisted the shyness in her heart, stepped into the bathroom, and hugged Qin Haodong's solid body. Since leaving Jiangnan City, Qin Haodong had not tasted meat for a long time. At this time, he was like ignited dry firewood, and a flame rose from his lower abdomen. Master, what I want to tell you today is that Xue Jie wants a child. Qin Haodong was speechless. He had not expected Yagyu Yukaim to make such a request. Yagyu Yukaim said faintly, Master, as your servant, I will never look for another man in this life. I don't dare to have you, but I hope you can leave me a child, and let me be a complete woman. Qin Haodong sighed. Because of the master-servant contract, Yagyu Yukaim was destined not to fall in love with anyone else in this life. From this point of view, he was also responsible. Since he was responsible, he would bear it. He took a bath towel and dried their bodies. Then he picked up Yagyu Yukaim and walked to the big bed in the bedroom. This was the third time the two of them had slept together. But the first 2 times had been mixed with other factors. This time was the purest. Master, let Yukaim serve you. Yagyu Yukaim completely opened her heart. Under the fierce battle between the two of them, the big bed seemed to tremble a little. Happy times were always short. When Qin Haodong left the hotel, the night had fallen. All kinds of lights lit up the night scene of the Shanghai city. He walked out of the hotel lobby. Just as he came under the porch, he saw that it was raining cats and dogs outside. He didn't bring his rain gear, and his car was parked in the parking lot outside. Just as he was hesitating about how to leave, there was a shrill horn next to him, and a black Rolls-Royce with a capital license plate drove up. Boy in front, are you a courier or a cleaner? Get out of the way. A good dog doesn't stand in the way. Don't you understand this? A bald head stretched out of the driver's seat and roared at Qin Haodong. From his words, it could be seen that because of his ordinary clothes, he didn't regard Qin Haodong as a guest at all, but as a worker who was taking shelter from the rain. Qin Haodong glanced at the driver and looked at the porch of the hotel. The road there was wide enough. As long as he turned the steering wheel slightly, he could go around from the side. However, the driver didn't choose to do so. He probably wanted to show off the superiority of driving a luxury car. However, generally speaking, people who drove luxury cars were workers. Judging from this guy's clothes, he was definitely a driver. What are you looking at? Didn't you hear me? Get out of the way, and get out of the way. The guy roared crazily again. Qin Haodong said, You don't have to speak so loudly. My ears are good, but there may be something wrong with your eyes. Can't you see such a wide road? How the hell do you talk to me? I have to make way for you today. If my car is damaged because of you, I can't afford it even if I sell you. The driver shouted with a sense of superiority again. Qin Haodong didn't want to talk to this guy, but he also didn't want to make way unnecessarily. He said lightly, Whatever you do, I can't leave until the rain stops. Boy, are you looking for trouble? Get out of the way. I'm waiting to pick someone up. The car is not yours. It's just a driver. Driving the owner's car. Is it really good to show off like this? Qin Haodong said. If you're in a hurry, go around. It's not that there is no road. Try King saying that again. The driver was hurt by Qin Haodong's words. He did drive a luxury car, but it had nothing to do with him at all. Qin Haodong didn't bother to pay attention to this kind of person, so he turned his head directly to the side. Boy, believe it or not, I'll kill you. Seeing that Qin Haodong ignored him, the guy was completely angry. Seeing that the guy was getting more and more outrageous, Qin Haodong said in a cold voice, Try it if you can. The driver was furious. He slammed on the accelerator and rushed toward Qin Haodong. In his opinion, the young man would definitely dodge. As long as he took a step forward, the car would pass, and he would regain his lost face. But what he didn't expect was that Qin Haodong just stood there motionless, which was beyond his expectation. Seeing that he was about to hit Qin Haodong, he hurriedly stepped on the brake, but in a panic, he stepped on the wrong brake and accelerator, and stepped on the accelerator. The Rolls-Royce made a dull roar and slammed into Qin Haodong. Seeing this scene, the people around exclaimed, thinking that the young man must be finished. The 2 security guards next to him wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Qin Haodong suddenly became angry. No matter whether the driver did it intentionally or not. If it were someone else, he would definitely die under the wheels today. He suddenly raised his right leg and kicked at the Rolls-Royce. Is this young man crazy? He even kicked a car. How can a man be compared to a car? He's scared, really scared. What a pity, this young man. This driver is too much. Is driving a good car that great? There was a way to go, but he insisted on hitting others. Now he's in trouble. Just when people were angry and regretful, an amazing scene appeared. After Qin Haodong's right foot kicked the front of the Rolls-Royce, he did not move at all. But the roaring Rolls-Royce suddenly retreated, as if it had been hit by a cannonball. The strength of this kick was too great. Not only did it collapse the front cover of the Rolls-Royce, but it also destroyed the engine. The Rolls-Royce immediately lay there motionless, like a killed bull. And there was no sound. Oh my God, what did I see? Is it Superman? What's going on? What's going on? Am I dreaming? How can a man be compared to a car? This must be a movie company shooting a movie. Let me see, where is the camera? Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. No one believed that this seemingly weak young man could destroy a car with a kick. The driver in the Rolls-Royce was completely stunned. It took him a long time to recover. When he opened the door and saw the Rolls-Royce's miserable state, he was so scared that he fell to the ground. He really didn't know what kind of monster this young man was. He was finished. His car had been destroyed like this. How could he compensate the boss? At this moment, the door of the hotel lobby opened, and a woman came out surrounded by a group of people. The woman was 27 or 28 years old. She had long hair and a slim figure. She was wearing a fiery red dress and a pair of high heels that were more than 10 centimeters high, which made her figure look more and more straight. She was somewhat similar to Zhou Xinju in both appearance and temperament, but her aura was much stronger than Zhou Xinju's. She had the temperament of a domineering female president. When her eyes met Qin Haodong's, both of them were suddenly stunned. The reason why Qin Haodong was surprised was that this woman was a master. She had the highest cultivation among all the warriors he had ever seen. She had reached the 6th level of the supreme power realm. When the woman saw Qin Haodong, for some reason, she was also absent-minded. She murmured, "So similar, so similar. Bossy, are you out? Look at this guy. He destroyed our car." The driver got up from the ground and came to the woman in embarrassment. It turned out that this was the person he had been picking up, his boss. After he finished speaking, he waited for the woman's anger. In his opinion, the woman would definitely be furious when the car was destroyed like this. Unexpectedly, the woman didn't even look at him. Instead, she went straight to Qin Haodong and asked excitedly, "What's your name?" Qin Haodong, thinking that the woman wanted to hold him accountable, he didn't hide it and directly told her his name. Qin Haodong. After hearing the name, the woman's expression suddenly changed and she even trembled slightly. Seeing her reaction, Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "Do you know me?" At the same time, he tried his best to recall in his mind to make sure that he had never seen this woman before. No, I don't know you. I just think your name is very special." The woman came to her senses, glanced at the Rolls-Royce next to her and asked, "Did you kick this?" Chapter 546. I did, but it was your driver who hit me first. While speaking, Qin Haodong became nervous. After all, he was facing a master of the 6th level of the supreme power realm. Unexpectedly, the woman did not show any sign of anger. Instead, she nodded with a smile and praised him. "You're good. Have you practiced kung fu?" Qin Haodong said, "A little." The woman said, "Okay, you can go now." As soon as she said that, everyone was stunned. The loss of this car was at least 1,000,000 yuan, but this woman did not seem to care about it at all. Qin Haodong was also somewhat surprised, but he had no intention of paying for it. He said, "Well, goodbye." The driver next to him quickly shouted, "Boss, he damaged our car." The woman turned around and the smile on her face disappeared in an instant. She said in a cold voice, "Shut up." In the face of the woman's strong power, The driver was speechless for an instant. The woman asked, "Tell me what's going on. Why did you hit someone with your car?" I. The woman's aura was so strong that the driver was just an ordinary person. He stammered for a long time and could not even say a complete sentence. The woman turned to look at the security guard in charge of the door and asked, "Did you see it just now? What happened?" "Miss, I saw it." The security guard recounted everything that had just happened. After hearing this, the woman said to the driver, "You're a dog who acts on his power. From now on you're fired. Get out of here." "No, boss, I won't dare to do it next time. Please give me another chance." "Give you another chance? Because you caused such a big damage to my car. You have to pay for it. Go back and wait for the court summons." The driver's face suddenly turned pale, and he fell to the ground. How could he afford such a big loss? However, he could not blame anyone else. He had just acted tough because of his power. If it had not been for Qin Haodong, he would have been arrested and sent to prison. After dealing with the driver, the woman turned around and said to her men, "Today's activity is cancelled. You can go back to your own business." She then looked at the security guard next to her. "Get the person in charge here. Send a copy of the surveillance video of what just happened to my room." With that, she turned around and walked back to the hotel. "Who is this person? It looks so powerful. You don't even know this?" "This is Miss Yi Qing, the CEO of the Haodong Group. She controls hundreds of billions of assets and tens of thousands of employees. Of course she has a powerful aura. Oh my god, so she's Yi Qing. She's so pretty. If only she could provide for me. Dream on. I'm so handsome. Even if he has a sugar daddy, it should be me." It turned out that this woman was Yi Qing of the Haodong Group. Everyone thought that she cancelled the operation because her car was broken and she was in a bad mood. But no one expected that after returning to the room, she immediately jumped up excitedly, as if she had encountered a great joy. After calming down, she called the bodyguard captain in and said, "Go and check the young man named Qin Haodong for me. Dig out all his information. The more detailed, the better. Remember, don't disturb him." "Got it, Mississippi." The bodyguard captain agreed and left the room. He had followed Yi Qing for many years and knew her temper very well. No wonder this little witch, who never suffered losses, was so easy to talk to today. It turned out that she wanted to settle accounts with that person later. Yi Qing did not know what the bodyguard captain was thinking. At this time, the security department of the hotel sent a copy of the video over. She closed the door and began to watch the video. In the end, she stopped the video on Qin Haodong's handsome face and murmured, "Similar, so similar. I didn't expect this guy to be so good at martial arts. I must tell my sister about this and make her happy. Otherwise, she will be depressed all day and grow old quickly." Thinking of this, she opened the hotel safe, took out a separate mobile phone, and dialed a series of phone numbers. In a luxurious room in the capital, Chu Xianyue, who was graceful, leaned against the head of the bed and stared blankly at the two photos in front of her. In these two photos, the one on the left was still a baby in swaddling clothes. The child looked chubby and very cute. The one on the right was a handsome man in his 20s. If one took a closer look, they would find that he looked very similar to Qin Haodong. As she watched, her eyes began to mist up, and large drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. At that moment, a red phone beside her rang. Chu Xianyue wiped her tears, took a deep breath, adjusted her mood, and said in a relaxed tone, "You little girl, I told you not to use this confidential phone unless necessary. Why did you call me as soon as you arrived in Shanghai?" "Of course I used this phone for something important." Yi Qing giggled and said like a child, "Chu Xianyue, are you lonely now that I'm gone? What are you doing at home? Do you miss me? Actually, even if you don't tell me, I know. You must be staring at the two men in a daze, right?" Hearing the familiar voice, a smile appeared on Chu Xuanyue's face. For 20 years, she had relied on Yi Qing to survive. "You little girl, you directly called my name again. You really have no manners at all." Yi Qing said with a smile, "Can you blame me? I was a child who lacked maternal love back then. I originally wanted to call you mother, but in order to show that you were young, you forced me to call you sister. Since we are of the same generation, why be so polite? You're right, Chu Xianyue said. You called me on the encrypted phone. Is this what you want? Yi Qing said, of course it's important. I sent a photo to your mailbox. Take a look. What photo? Why are you being so mysterious? Chu Xianyue said as she took the laptop. It's a handsome guy, a super handsome guy. You'll definitely like him. What's wrong, little girl? Usually when I ask you to find a boyfriend, your head is shaking like a rattle drum. Why do you have a crush on someone as soon as you arrive in Shanghai? Whose poor child is this? Why did you little witch take a fancy to him? Yi Qing giggled and said, do you agree with me pursuing him? Of course. At your age, you should have found someone to marry long ago, so that you don't have to bother me at home every day. Chu Xianyue, do you have a conscience? I don't get married because I want to stay at home with you. Yi Qing said, remember, you agreed to let me pursue this handsome guy. Don't go back on your word. What? Is the person you like much younger than you? Do you want to be an old cow who eats young grass? What do you mean by old cow? He's just 28 years old, and is about to bloom. As the two of them talked about this, Chu Xianyue had already turned on the computer. When she saw the photo sent by Yi Qing, she immediately said with dissatisfaction, you little girl, did you play such a joke on me in the middle of the night? Why did you send me a photo of your brother-in-law? Chu Xianyue, even you think he looks like him? Yi Qing said excitedly. I was shocked when I first saw him. He looks so much like my brother-in-law. Chu Xianyue said in surprise, isn't this a photo of your brother-in-law? Of course not. Look at the background. This is the porch of a hotel. When did brother-in-law come to Shanghai? Chu Xianyue took a closer look at the handsome face in the photo. It was indeed a little different from the person in her heart. But she still asked, are you sure you didn't edit this photo? Yi Qing said, I just cut this from the video recording. I didn't edit it at all. Hearing her words, Chu Xianyue suddenly became excited, and her body couldn't stop trembling. Xiaoqing, how old is this child? What's his name? Sister, don't be too excited. His name is Qin Haodong. As for how old he is, I don't know yet. I've already sent someone to check. Qin Haodong. His name is Qin Haodong. Is he really my little Haodong? Chu Xianyue murmured, and looked at the face on the screen with tears streaming down her face. Yi Qing said, sister, don't cry. There are many people who look like him. There are tens of thousands of people with this name in Huaxia. Whether he is your lost son or not, we have to do a DNA test. Chu Xianyue came to her senses and quickly said, you're right. I'll go to Shanghai now, and do a DNA test immediately. Then she stood up and was eager to change her clothes. On the other side of the phone, Yi Qing hurriedly said, sister, don't worry. You have to calm down. Chu Xianyue said, Xiaoqing, I've been looking for your brother for more than 20 years. Now I finally have news about him. How can I calm down? She was originally a very calm and generous woman, but after knowing the news about her son, this calmness immediately disappeared. In front of her son, no matter how powerful a woman was, she was just an ordinary mother. Yi Qing cried, Chu Xianyue, do you want to kill your son? Have you forgotten how he was lost? If those people know that he is still alive, they will definitely kill him. Hearing this, Chu Xianyue, who was originally excited, immediately sat down on the bed. Soon, she said with a gloomy expression, if anyone dares to touch my son again, I will definitely kill him. Yi Qing said, sister, calm down. With our strength, we can't fight against the Chu family now. Chu Xianyue choked and said, Xiaoqing, I just want to see my son. Is this too much to ask? Yi Qing comforted her. Sister, don't be so excited. As long as Haodong is still alive, you and your son will meet sooner or later. What we have to do now is to keep it a secret. Don't let those people know before we are strong enough. I know, Xiaoqing. I've already hurt Haodong once. I can't hurt him again this time. Only then did Chu Xianyue understand why Yi Qing had made this encrypted call. She said, my heart is in a mess now. Tell me, what should I do? Yi Qing said, The most important thing for you now is to keep calm, and don't let those people see anything unusual. Also, hurry up and do a DNA test to determine if Qin Haodong is your lost son. Chu Xianyue said, I'll listen to you. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Yi Qing said, now we can't let the Chu family know the news, nor can we alarm Qin Haodong. So this DNA test must be kept secret. How about this? Ask someone to send me some underwear tomorrow morning. Put your hair inside your clothes and send it to Shanghai. I'll find a way to get Qin Haodong's hair and secretly do a DNA test. Then we'll know the result. Chu Xianyue said, Xiaoqing, you're so thoughtful. I hope you can find my son this time. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.